I don't know how we're going to follow up that thriller that we saw on Thursday Night Football between the Patriots and the Jets. We're going to try. It's our Week 11 NFL Pick Show, our second one of the week with Evan Daniel. Before we do the intros and everything like that, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. Like yesterday, I'm wearing the same shirt, the hashtag Ken Griffin lied shirt. Which Ken Griffin? I can't say because I don't want to get sued, but you can buy that shirt as well as any other shirt here at the merch store. We have a 20% off sale right now. You can change the colors of any of these shirts. You can get long sleeve, hoodie, women's tank top, infant onesie. We have our apron. We have mugs. We have our baseball cap. We have a lot here. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people I saw at Penn State. I was there for 6 years, so had a lot of writing material. Just a lot of fun writing this book too. Safety and Field Goal is my first book, so if you want to buy that, it's a top 5 topic book about the NFL. Some mostly serious stuff, but some fun stuff as well. Some crazy stories that you may not have heard of. And also, please consider super chats, super stickers. Really the best way to support the show. I say that all the time because it's true. YouTube ads pay us nothing, and anytime you guys super chat or super sticker us, like it really helps so much. We had a few from Kevin Kovac yesterday, also last week. We had a 555 from Slew yesterday. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. I can't say it enough. All right, we're joined by Evan Daniel, as always on a Thursday night. Evan, how are you, and how was your week 10?
What's doing, Walt? Week 10 was good. We finally got back into the winning column, going 4-1. Although I think we took the Chargers we took the Steelers getting 2.5. I think we talked last week. I like the Steelers going. They were getting 3 in the Super Contest, and my pick of the Vikings getting 4 or 3.5 on the circle would have lost anyway. Mm-hmm. So we'll take the 4-1 and move on. And most importantly, Circa Survivor. No sweat this week. We're already through to week 12. I was very, very stressed watching the first drive where the Jets, resembling a top offense in the league, decided to win the coin toss and elect to receive, march down the field 4 for 4 on third down, 7-0. And I'm thinking, oh, God, here we go. Thursday night football, low scoring, garbage game. For whatever reason, some of these upsets happen more often on Thursday nights than not. So I stressed through most of the game. But we did have a couple of live bets on the game, which was nice. We took some Fields rushing plays on the ladder. 46.5 was his total at halftime. We took the over. We took the 50. We took the 60. I also took the 70, which lost by 3. So those Fields ladder bets on FanDuel were great. I also played a live bet on the Jets plus 10.5, which of course lost when Fields fumbled the snap. I know you were on the other side of that, so good for you. But yeah, Survivor. We're through. I asked Andy this question, and I'll let you know what he answered after you do. 515 out of 1,000 people remaining are eligible, or I should say have the Patriots available. Of those 515, how many would you think took the Patriots tonight?
Well, the Patriots don't have that many more games. I know they have the Jets again later.
No, they have a bunch of games where they're going to be favored.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking. I'm thinking Texans. Although they have the Raiders. So Patriots schedule.
Yeah, they have Cincinnati on the road. They play
have
the Giants.
They have the Giants, right?
They play the Jets again.
Okay. So yeah, never mind. So I think I would say out of 515, I'd say 330.
330. Okay. I said 450.
Okay.
Andy said like 425.
Oh, Andy's right in the middle. Okay.
I hope it would be 350. I hope it's less, more people at risk, because there's not a lot of other teams that people have a lot of availability. I think Houston will be a popular pick this week, although I'm not going to actually go and check to see which of the 515 are the ones who have Houston eligible or available.
Yeah.
But there certainly could be other upsets, and there's not a lot of big spreads with teams that are available. So it's nice to sit back and relax and I'll be able to sleep on Saturday night where I usually don't. Before Survivor. So now the fun begins, because we've said all along we wanted to get to Thanksgiving, and now we're 1 week away from getting to Thanksgiving. So we'll have more to think about next week as we approach the kind of like the point of the season where it's time to start getting serious. Once you get through Thanksgiving, you can start getting excited, really until week 13. So we're 11 down, 9 to go. There's still a lot of football left to be played, but we're down to, like I said last week, we're looking at now 1,000 people left. That is exactly 94% 4.5% is out. We're down to 5.3% of the initial pot remaining. Every entry is worth almost $20,000. So it's it's not nothing, but definitely not really. We're not really ready to get real serious until 2 weeks, Thanksgiving. That's when we can start getting excited, start to really plan the card, plan the path. But we're through. No sweat really. Once it was halftime, although they missed the field goal before halftime, and I was like,
I know.
thinking like,
I know.
just go up by 2 scores and end this game already.
They also wasted time on that. I don't know if you remember earlier in the drive, they had a third down where they're just like lollygagging to the line, and then like, come on, guys, go. And then they had to kick a field goal because they ran out of time. Like they should have had 20 more seconds left when they were kicking. And, yeah, and as someone who's been tilted by a lot of special teams garbage going against me the past 2 weeks, including I had the Browns last week, and the Jets scored two kickoff returns. I was like, oh, here we go again, another special teams garbage play. Luckily, it didn't affect us. We had minus 12.5, so I was happy to get the 13. And give you credit for the Justin Fields ladder, which I did give you credit on Twitter. I said it's the Evan special. So definitely,
I love these quarterback rushing yards plays. It's just, we're going to continue to take advantage. You mentioned to me one day, it's like, thanks for teaching me how to fish.
Yes.
That was more with NBA or college over-unders late. The ladders on the NFL rushing, when you know the usage is there, especially with teams behind, Fields just, he can't throw.
Yeah.
We were joking around like, who's worse, Fields or Bryce Young? These guys are averaging under 5 yards per pass attempt. That is backup caliber quarterback play. Only thing they do right, or I should say, only thing Fields does right is run the ball. Although he had 3rd and 2, he could have stepped up in the pocket and kept the game alive. Ended up taking a sack. He's just awful. Both of these guys, some of these quarterbacks, just not NFL quarterbacks. It's pathetic. It makes for a bad product.
You asked me who's better between Fields and Bryce Young, and I said at least Fields can see over the line of scrimmage, which is definitely a plus. Andy asking, Walt, how'd you play your 5 entries? The 5 entries I remaining in DraftKings Survivor. Andy told me to play 3 Patriots out of 5. I played 0 because I forgot to enter my picks. It's when you have 2 young kids, I don't want to blame my kids, but it's more me. I should be sleeping more, but it's I don't know when I can. So I had an early dentist appointment today. By early, I mean 11 o'clock. So I mean I had to get up at 10. I go to sleep at 6. So, and then my son comes home from school. He wants to play Resident Evil. And so not play. He wants to watch me do it. And then then my kids won't eat dinner. My wife yells at them, and then I have to tell them to stop running around the table so they eat dinner, and then I have to give them a bath. And then my kids are just fighting because my son wants to go into my daughter's crib and just mess around there, and then I have to separate them, and then my daughter's like, oh, Connie, come, and then it's like you just said no, and so by the time I get downstairs to do some work before the game, I type up my final thoughts and I'm like nodding off, and then I hear my son go, Mommy, is Daddy sleeping? I'm like, oh man. So I was so tired. Then I had to put my son to bed, and I just completely forgot. And then when you texted me that the Jets were up 7-0, I was still putting my son to sleep. I was like, oh wow, I forgot to do Survivor. I forgot to enter. So at the time I was like, whoa, like phew, I dodged the bullet here. But I wish I had 3 out of 5. I feel as secure as Evan does. Instead, I have to you trust Houston or Green Bay or someone else. Or I don't want to trust Pittsburgh, not Aaron Rodgers, but someone else. Well, Ravens probably. We'll think about that. At least I don't have to play Ravens. There's no Christmas or Thanksgiving slate on DraftKings, so I don't have to worry about using Baltimore here. And yeah, luckily, like Evan said, the Patriots have a lot of opportunities too. So you can take them against the Giants or Bengals or Jets again or whomever. You should have had your watch give an audible alert every 15 minutes starting 3 hours prior to kickoff. I should do that. I actually do that when I'm working at night and I'm tired of sitting in this chair. I really don't like this chair. Then I go up to my upstairs on the couch and I'll start working on the couch, and maybe I'll watch TV. Actually, I've learned to set my alarm because I'll sometimes fall asleep on the couch. So I just have to make sure I don't like fall asleep for a couple hours and I can't do any work. And he says Vikings or 49ers possible too. Yeah, I don't like the Niners so much. We'll talk about the game later, but I do like the Vikings for sure. And I think Evan might feel the same, but we will find out. So let's get to these games. The first one. So we have good news and bad news. The bad news is that we have another stupid European exhibition match, and it's between the Redskins and the Dolphins. And I said this yesterday. I'm like, if I'm Spain, I'm kind of pissed. I'm like, Germany got Colts, Falcons. We get this garbage. Like, it's good incite a war. But the good news is this is the final European exhibition match, so we don't have to worry about this garbage until next year. So the Dolphins are favored by 2.5. I initially thought, well, first of all, I'm not going to bet this game, but I initially thought I was going to be in the Redskins just because the Dolphins are coming off such a big win against Buffalo. I like fading bad teams off wins. They usually don't play nearly as well as they do beforehand. But then I'm like thinking about the matchup, and I'm like, you have Devon Achane, like one of the fastest running backs in the NFL, maybe the fastest, against the league's slowest linebackers. So it's like, good luck, Redskins trying to stop Devon Achane. Maybe this is just a game where you just take Devon Achane over rushing yards, or ladder him like we did with Justin Fields tonight. So I'm kind of torn right now. I still have the Redskins on the site. I'm considering a pick change, but it really doesn't matter because I'm not betting this game. How do you feel about this game?
Well, for the first time all season, I like Miami. And
oh my God.
Yeah, I think the line is favorable. I would have made the line at least 3. For me, it's really just about Washington's defense going in the wrong direction. This is a team that just had 4 straight losses by 20-plus points, 22, 21, 24, 22. Now, obviously, Miami defense not much better, and Miami's coming off of a huge win. So you can't really discount the fact that when you get the win on a game that they've circled against a rival team, and now they're traveling, it's almost like a party trip for them. So that the mentality is probably not there to have a focus, and it's not like they're one win away from 500 or competing for the division. But if they're going to win this game, they're going to win this game by margin. In Miami's last 4 games, the 2 blowout losses, they've scored 6 points. It's really the offense that hadn't shown up in the losses. But in the wins, they're winning by margin. They're putting up 30-plus points. And I could see this game, I could see them having a similar 30-plus point performance, just given how bad Washington's defense has been. So if both teams, quote unquote, bring their A game, right? What's their A game? I don't see Washington doing much at all. I think that's really like a dead team walking. Just the entire season is unraveled. This is a team that had high hopes that has kind of all but faded away. And now you have a Miami team that, when they come back from Madrid, they're on a bye, and then they play New Orleans at home. So this is a team that actually could win a couple of games, and it's a team with a pedigree and a history a couple of years ago where they reeled off a couple of wins to, I think they won like 6 out of 7 late, or 7 out of 8 a couple of years ago. And maybe they're thinking like, hey, we can actually put together a little bit of a streak here. Now, obviously, do I want to be betting on Tua? No. Do I want to be betting on an international game? Also, no. First of all, I don't have a lot of games that I really like this week. But if this game were Sunday afternoon, for me, no brainer. And really, the only thing stopping me isn't the international; it's the fact that they just beat Buffalo.
Right.
I think Achane's gonna have a big game. If Tua doesn't literally throw the ball away to a very, very bad defensive team, I think Miami's going to put up 27, 30, 31 points. And even though Miami's defense is horrible, Washington's defense is right now number 32 in the league overall yards per play, or 31 in the league yards per play. Versus the rush, they're number 23. Versus the pass, and they're dead last, number 32. So bad spot, bad venue, but I really like the Dolphins. And I'm not going to try to talk you into an international game, but if we can't find games, this is a team I will come back to.
All right, fine. I'll put this on a maybe list. I don't want to worry about this international game. You just never know how these guys are going to play. Like maybe Miami is just really going to be jet lagged or something, and less so than Washington for some reason. We don't know why. I point to the example of Matt LaFleur missing meetings because he couldn't get used to the body clock time. I don't know. There's just unknowns in these games. And I agree about the Dolphins. Well, I mean, I said it before, I said it as well. So of course I agree with what I said a couple of minutes ago. That the Dolphins could be flat off the win against Buffalo, and you pointed that out as well. So that's
Well,
why I don't want to touch this game. If they're coming off a loss, I would feel more confident about Miami. But
I'll give you a good bet to play now, especially because I know you and I both have heavy under 8.5 wins. I reloaded and played under 7.5 wins.
mhm.
And now might be the time to take Miami over 6.5 wins.
Okay,
Is that three and what are they? 3-7. They're
yeah,
3-7, and if I'm right, and they're going to be favored in the next 3 games, right? So they have Washington, New Orleans at the Jets. Even at the Jets, they're probably favored. So if they win the next 3 games, that puts them back at 6-7, with Steelers, Bengal games at home may or may not have Burrow, Tampa at home, and then New England to close. So they would be sitting 6-7 with with 4 games to play.
mm,
So playing over 6.5 now, and if you lose, you lose. We already have big plays on under 8.5, which is pretty much a lock, right? I mean, can they? I guess theoretically they could run the table or just lose 1 game. I don't think that's going to happen. I think our 8.5 is very, very much a winner. I think our 7.5 is probably a winner, but this would be the time to play. If folks listened and played under 8.5, that was our first bet of the season.
yep.
And then again, we took it at 7.5. Now is the time to come back over the top, maybe half a bet over 6.5. That's what I'm going to do, because I don't know if I want to bet this game straight or just play back the over 6.5 wins.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm not as confident as you as in Miami winning this game. Like I said, I'm considering the switch to Miami, but I look, they're not a good team either. Like the Redskins are awful, but Miami I feel like is almost just as awful. People are yelling at me for not moving them out of Group F. I still think they're in Group F. They have no offensive line, they have no defense. Defense is awful too, and I don't trust Tua. He's had a couple of good games this year, but he's had these meltdowns as well. So I don't
Where
I
do you
don't
have
trust the
them
team at all.
power rated number wise? I know your groups, but what is that? I mean, are they number 27 or are they number? I have them. I moved them from 27 to 24.
Oh
I don't
wow.
think they're good either, but I have
I
Washington down at number 29.
I'm gonna pull it up now. I have the Dolphins at 28, and I have the Redskins at 30. So I don't really see too much of a difference between these teams. Miami by hair. So, but they're
Andy
coming off the
has
win.
a interesting comment on the Bengals playing in Europe.
Yeah, they'll travel west.
So, similarly, Raheem Morris decided to fly home 11 hours from and not take a bye. I'm not sure if
Yep.
they knew how long the flight was, uh,
I,
but
I don't.
another dysfunctional coach.
Yeah, we Andy and I talked about that yesterday. And I think Andy brought the point that like maybe Raheem didn't decide that. And then if that were the case, then the whole organization is dysfunctional. I mean, the owner, I mean, the head coach should have an input in that. That would be a huge misstep if he didn't. So, but given it's the Falcons, we can certainly think that it could happen. Let's see. Mr. Benster Rock says, Walt, thanks for the picks last week. Hit Lions minus 20.5. Big Pride over 62.5. Rams minus 5.5 on a plus 2070 profit boost. Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah. It's cool you put the Lions minus 20.5 in that parlay. Yeah, we had the plus 390 on the Lions minus 20.5. So that's awesome. Mia would rather have her papers graded by Andy or Evan than Walt. This is a joke from yesterday where Slew was saying, if you were a teacher and Mia, who's Miami, was arguing with Beth, or I forget what B name you came up with, Slew, and you had an F student arguing against an A student, and the F student beat the A student. Like, would you upgrade as a teacher? Would you upgrade the F student to like a D student or whatever?
Absolutely.
Well, it depends if the A student slacked off and didn't do any of their homework and just showed up to class drunk, or hungover, a buff. He said buff. Okay, so yeah, that Buff makes a lot more sense than Beth. So yeah, I and then I said like if we're saying Miami's Mia and Buffalo's Buff, like what's Tennessee? What like Tina? Like is Tina just like on crack showing up to class like just like never like half the time never there?
Yeah,
Um
they have to show up.
yeah, right. GM and coach should consult on a buy after travel and get ownership approval. Yeah, they should. Yeah, I don't know how Atlanta does things, you know. Dan Campbell never tries to stop scoring was a good call. Yeah, he loves to step on the throats of these teams. As teams that beat him, like the Lions are the most vengeful team in the NFL.
We
They
said
love.
that last week.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
such a good handicap that was the playoff revenge.
yeah. That was like the perfect marriage of
Mm-hmm.
spot and matchup. Like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
everything favored the Lions. It was such a great spot.
That was the
Uh,
number one pick on the board last week.
Yeah, well, hopefully we have some good ones this week. Let's get to some American games here.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers are at the Giants. The Packers are -7. Um, I assume you would agree with this that you were disappointed to see Jameis Winston start because we were very much looking ahead to betting against Russell Wilson one more time. That would have been great. Russell Wilson, so dreadful. Jameis Winston at least has some potential. Now, Jameis Winston has the potential to give 2 touchdowns to the other team too. But you know, he can at least get the ball downfield. There could be some exciting plays. I will say this: Darius Slayton, who's somehow the Giants' top receiver, he has not practiced yet this week, so he could be out. So it's like, who's he going to throw to besides Wan'Dale Robinson? There's Theo Johnson, who's okay, tight end, but like really, like he's going to throw to I don't even know who's on their depth chart even. I have to like check who are the other receivers. So with Jalen Hyatt, yeah, Jalen Hyatt, who can't catch anything. Gunnar Olszewski, Isaiah Hodgins are going to be the top 3 receivers. After Wando.
They're going to throw Theo Johnson.
Yeah.
He's going to throw screen passes. Actually,
yeah,
he doesn't like throwing screen. Jameis doesn't throw running back screens. He throws the ball downfield.
Yeah, he wants to bomb. He's going to bomb it to Jalen Hyatt like 8 times in this game. Jalen Hyatt's going to drop every time. It's gonna be so bad. The Giants also fired their head coach. And Andy and I were talking about yesterday how I feel like the Giants made a misstep, or actually, if there's tanking, maybe it's actually the good move. Because they named their offensive coordinator the head coach. You know, usually teams will make their like special teams coordinator the head coach because then the offensive coordinator can still do his job. But now Mike Kafka, who is the offensive coordinator, like they don't really have an offensive coordinator anymore because he's not doing all of his duties. He's concentrating on head coaching duties. So I think that makes things difficult for the Giants. They also have other injuries too, obviously. And the Packers will come off 2 losses. So I came into this thinking, you know, well, first of all, fade Russell Wilson. But then Jameis Winston was announced. I'm like, Giants seem kind of interesting. But the more I thought about it, and Andy made some great points yesterday, I think the Packers are the way to go. What do you think about this game?
Well, I want to start with the Giants because I can't believe they blew another game. And from a survivor perspective, 168 people, I had already marked that they lost, that they were done, they were out. And somehow came back from the dead, and the Giants just blew another game. And as I'm rewatching that game, I'm thinking, what happened? You know, how did this happen? I know, obviously, you're watching the game. There's a lot of games going on at once, and I see the Giants are kicking a field goal from the 1-yard line, which is always a red flag, unless you're going up 2 scores with like 4 minutes to go in the game, not 10. I agree with the move to kick if you're going up 2 scores with maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes remaining. More than that, go for the touchdown. Not only did they go for the field goal, but there was a flag, too many men on the field. So they could have actually gone from the like 1 foot yard line. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that I would rather take away 3 points and pin another team back on the 1 or inside the 1 than take 3 points and give you the ball at the 35. So, of course, Dable declines the penalty. Now, on the ensuing possession, the Bears went 4 and out. So they went for a 4th down on their own 43 and did not get it. The Giants, from their starting a drive at the Chicago 43, punted. So the odds on that drive, I said to you, the Giants have the ball now on the 43-yard line, and I'm going to give you odds, yes punt or no punt. Well, I don't know what the odds would have been, but you would have bet I'm not going to take the yes punt because it's probably unlikely. But nope, Giants moved backwards and they punted. And, of course, blew the game. So you had asked me last week. I really liked the Giants last week. covered that as one of my picks, plus 4.5. And you said, who are they going to throw the ball to? And my answer was, they don't have to, because Dart's going to run the ball. Dart had 6 carries for 66 yards. He also had 240 yards passing, so he accounted for 300 yards. In this game, Jameis doesn't run the ball at all. He just throws the ball, and he with a big smile on his face, throws the ball. So Dart's not necessarily throwing those picks, although he did have a bad one against the Broncos late. Jameis will throw those picks, and I agree this week, I don't know who he's throwing the ball to. So that's the Giants side. Now, Green Bay, off of a very lackluster Monday Night Football short week. They were off a loss 2 weeks ago to Carolina somehow. This team needs to get back on the winning track. I liken this game to the Niners-Giants game a couple weeks ago where it was 34-24.
Yeah.
I think here, despite the fact that Green Bay has a 6.5 point or more favorite, they're 0-5 against the spread. And they're only 2-2-1, so they have 2 wins when they're favored by 6.5 points. And I think because the market knows that, I think you're getting a discount. I think this line should be closer to 7.5, maybe even 9. I definitely wouldn't make it 7 or less than 7. I see it's 7 here, both contests. So I like the Packers laying the points. I think they're going to finally score. The Giants defense is very poor, especially their rushing defense is one of the worst in the league. So I think the Packers can move the ball at will, even without Kraft. And I think the Packers will come out with a game plan that attacks downfield, that finally moves the ball downfield. And I like Parsons in this game, even if he doesn't get statistics on sacks or quarterback hits, his presence will be felt. This is a must-win game. And with Winston probably throwing 1 or 2 picks and not having anybody to really throw the ball to, I like the Packers laying the points. And I think the fact that their record against the spread being so bad gives us a couple of points of a discount. I would make this a top 5 pick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. And something else to consider in addition to what you said, but those close losses where they're favored by a lot, none of those games were against Group F teams. Like there's a bunch of Group D teams. You had and you also had the Group C Arizona. But yeah, you had
they lost to Cleveland. They blew a 10-point lead to Cleveland.
Yeah. It's Group D. Cleveland's Group D. Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, with Joe Flacco's Group
D.
D isn't dog.
Okay.
Yeah. Not crazy here. Dallas, a Group D team without CeeDee Lamb. Cincinnati with Joe Flacco, Group D instead of F with Jake Browning. So yeah, they have not played against a Group F team yet this year. So maybe they can finally cover one of these. And given the fact that they lost 2 in a row, I feel more confident that they can do it. And they beat Pittsburgh by 10 on the road too. Like if they could beat Pittsburgh by 10 on the road, they can certainly beat the Giants by 10 on the road. I don't have the circle lines. I just realized
7.
It's 7. Okay, I don't see the circle lines. So okay, you'll have to tell me because I didn't. I didn't see it. So
Dolphins 2.5. I like at 3. I would maybe lay off it more. 2.5. I like it a lot. I think that line will close 3.
Mm-hmm.
Lions, Packers now 7. I would be surprised if this line doesn't go to 7.5. It's already 7 minus 15 at Circa.
Yeah.
Miami's 2.5, 15 at Circa. I think both of those lines are going to move in our favor.
Okay. I'll have to look that stuff up. I have to look those lines up once when you're breaking out the next game. All right, let's get to you have 5.5 for Buffalo?
Yes.
Here. Okay, yeah. It's Bills minus 5.5. I like this as a bounce back spot for Buffalo. Coming off the loss, kind of a predictable, like horrible spot for the Bills for a couple reasons. One, obviously they're coming off the big win against the Chiefs, but 2, they're missing a lot of defensive players last week. They're missing their top 2 cornerbacks. So I mean that's an issue when you have cluster injuries. They're missing 2 defensive linemen, and one of their defensive linemen returning, DeQuan Jones. I don't think he was healthy playing in his first game back. And then you also had Matt Milano, who's not healthy either. So like about half their defense was compromised. And so Miami was able to run on them, and Buffalo's been weak to the run all year. And I mostly because of the defensive tackle injuries, plus Matt Milano not being healthy at all. But things are looking up this week. Both their cornerbacks, Christian Benford He was full in practice today. Taron Johnson also full in practice today. It's Shaq Thompson, who missed last week, another linebacker injury. He was full in practice today. The only injury I see is to Dalton Kincaid, who's DNP twice with a hamstring, but they still have Dawson Knox, so I'm not too concerned about that. And also, I'm not convinced Tampa can expose Buffalo's weak run defense as well as Miami with Devon Achane. Like Rachaad White he's a fine receiver out of the backfield, but he's not really a great rusher, And Bucky Irving, we don't know what his status is. He was limited both times this week, and even if he plays, he may not be 100%. So I like that matchup for Buffalo. Also, Tampa. Every time Tampa has had a chance to step up in competition, they've just failed. That you had the Eagles this year; they're getting blown out until the end, until garbage time.
Seattle.
Well, Seattle. I don't know. I don't know how good Seattle is, but I'm talking Group A teams. For Detroit, they lose by 15. Even the Patriots, they're not a Group A team, but still they lose that game as well. Last year, Monday night, Baltimore destroyed them. Like this team takes care of business against average teams and sometimes good teams, but great teams, they just never beat a great team. And you can argue maybe Buffalo's not a great team because they have the horrible run defense. But I think that with a lot of their players returning from injury and the fact that they're coming off an embarrassing loss, I think they bounce back here, and I like Buffalo for like a medium-sized play. What do you think about this game?
I keep going back and forth on this game, so okay. I don't really like it. I mean, obviously the spot screams Buffalo, right? Allen was atrocious last week. Threw a pick in the end zone. He had a fumble for no reason, trying to get an extra yard. It's a 3rd and short. He had the first down by a mile. He's trying to get an extra yard. Fumbled. Cook did the same thing, where he's trying to get an extra yard after already getting a first down. The defense has been a joke, especially with the run defense giving up almost 200 yards last week to Achane. Tampa Bay was unable to stop New England's offense. They gave up 7.5 yards per play. Other than May being picked in the end zone, we kind of liked New England last week, or at least I liked New England a little bit last week. They really controlled that game. That game, I don't want to say it was never in doubt because it was really a one-score game late. But when you watched it, it didn't really feel like it felt like New England had control of the game the entire time. So I'm going back and forth because I think this is the type of game where Tampa Bay you would think is a good run defense, right? Mm-hmm. They're probably ranked highly, but where they get exposed and why they're really good is because Vita Vea in the middle. But where they get exposed and what happened last week, you saw is they get burned on those runs, those pitches to the outside. Henderson's 2 long runs were on quick pitches to the outside where he got the edge. And that's where Cook excels. That's what they did against Carolina a couple of weeks ago. They'll take the ball and pitch it to Cook, getting to the edge. And I think Buffalo could have some success running the ball wide, whereas most teams try to run the ball up the middle or through the tackles, and that's where Vita Vea stands, and most teams can't do that. So the spot screams Buffalo. I just don't really trust them. They're not playing well right now. You're laying points. Tampa Bay's a great backdoor team. But here's now where I go back the other way. There's supposed to be a weather and I know you talk about the forecast all the time, and it's hard with weather, and we don't trust the weather. But if the weather forecast is correct, what they're looking at is rain or snow, 23 to 40 mile per hour winds, and that really favors Buffalo because Allen could play in those elements, and we saw last year a couple of times where they had snow games or wind games, and Allen could still zip the ball through the wind, and they could run the ball wide, and Allen could run the ball himself. Whereas while Baker can run also, I don't necessarily trust that team moving the ball in Buffalo as much as I would Buffalo moving the ball if there's a weather issue. So I'm going back and forth. I don't trust Buffalo laying the points. They haven't looked the same. Other than the Kansas City game, they really haven't put together like that signature win. I don't count Carolina as a real NFL team, so that doesn't count. They were not great against the Saints. They were obviously really bad last week. So who have they beaten by margin? The Jets doesn't count. Carolina doesn't count. So I need to see a little bit more of Buffalo. I don't know the weather situation. For me, I would lay off the game. Also, I think Kincaid, even though Knox is there, Kincaid's been probably their best weapon this year. So not having him as like a security blanket on 3rd and long or 3rd and 8, call it 3rd and 7 to like 3rd and 12, not having Kincaid in the middle of the field, I think makes a difference. So, and the biggest factor for me really is Baker with the backdoor cover. So I've seen this team. I don't agree with you. I think that game against Seattle was a very good win. It's especially in Seattle. I finally moved Seattle up. I have Seattle as number 7 in the league. So how good is this team down the road? I guess we shall see. This week will be a huge week to determine how good they really are. But right now, I think Seattle is a top 7 team. Call it top 8. They're a contender. So for Tampa to go into that venue and win outright is impressive. So to me, I don't really want to lay 5.5 with Buffalo, but I don't think I'd be on Tampa Bay for a contest pick either. I'd probably pass.
I think the best team Seattle has beaten this year might be ranked 18th in my power rankings.
Fair. But as I said last week with Seattle, I finally elevated them into that top 10. I think Seattle has proven, just based on how they've won games, they are dominating teams. Now, I don't want to believe it either. Believe me, I don't. I don't want to believe that Sam Darnold is a top quarterback. I don't want to believe right now that Seattle is the number 2 offense in football, which is what they are on a yards per play basis. From a passing perspective, they're number 1 by a wide margin. I'll give you number 3. Number 3 is tied. Colts, Buffalo, 8.2 yards per pass attempt. New England's number 2 at 8.9. Seattle's number 1 at 9.8. Historically, that's probably one of the top 5 passing offenses in football over the last 25 years. Now, you mentioned the schedule. Okay, fine. But they did play Houston, right? Houston's not a bad defense. They put up 35. They lost to Tampa, but they put up 35 points. And against some of these other bad teams, they're still putting up 30 plus. So you have to give them credit where credit's due. Last week they were up 35-0 before you blinked. The game before against Washington, another shitty defense, they're up 28-0 or 21-0 again before you could blink. The game is over. So we have to give them some credit and say, all right, this team is probably better than we all imagined. And for Tampa to go into that venue and win outright, I think that was an impressive win by Tampa. So. And then Tampa, of course, blew a game against the Jets. I think the spread here is correct. I'm looking at the line 5.5, 6, 6.5. I just don't have any real opinion on betting this game, especially with the weather. The weather leads me to your side.
Mm-hmm.
No weather, I like the back door, but I'm not trusting Buffalo right now. What I saw last week was very concerning.
I made the line 8.5, so I'm much higher on it.
Yeah, I have 6.5. I have it at 6.5, and I have Buffalo number 3 in the league.
Okay, I'm number 2. So yeah, I agree with everything you said about Seattle. They've been dominant for sure, but it is wild that they have 7 wins and none of them have been above teams ranked 18th in the NFL in my power ranking.
Schedule.
I know that's crazy though. How they just avoid all these good teams. It just not at least
that's the NFC West. That's the NFC West. The same thing with the Niners. They're playing against the AFC South. So they've played Jacksonville. They've played Houston. They're going to play Tennessee in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They were also bad last year, so they played teams they're playing the NFC South as well. So they got Tampa, New Orleans. So they have an easy schedule. They played Arizona.
Yeah.
That's the schedule they have, but they're dominating their schedule. So at some point we have to say, okay, well, you probably love the Rams this week, and by that token, because if you don't think Seattle is warranted as a top 10 team, they're only 2.5 3-point dogs on the road against the Rams. But we'll get to that game later, so let's save it.
We will. One final thing here. You mentioned Vita Vea. I'm not convinced he's healthy. He's always on the injury report with a back issue, and he's just not being as dominant as usual this year. So Tampa is 17th against the run this year, which is very unusual. They're usually top 5. In EPA, they're 17th. So this should be a good James Cook game, as you mentioned too. And I'm sure Josh Allen will run a lot as well, given that they're coming off that horrible loss. So I like elite quarterbacks coming off losses. Josh Allen, 15-10 against the spread off a loss. So that's usually can take that. Make good money off of that sort of thing. Any elite quarterback is going to be around that area. Like Mahomes off a loss 14-9 against the spread. Aaron Rodgers used to have a great record as well. It's Tom Brady, obviously Peyton Manning. They would always rebound off loss as well. It's not foolproof, obviously, it's 67% or 60% in this case. But still, it's still pretty solid. And I think it's a good spot for them. Unlike last week. All right. Next game, we have Bengals at the Steelers. The Steelers are -5.5. Andy and I had a big disagreement on this game, so I'm curious to hear where you come in on it. I like the Bengals a lot here. I love the matchup they have against Pittsburgh's secondary. So the Steelers had a lot of injuries at safety, and so they moved Jalen Ramsey to safety, and then they lost all their cornerbacks against the Chargers. And like Ramsey's like, what do I do? Like, where do I go? Like there's no one in the secondary right now, and they have to go against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins with Joe Flacco playing well. We already saw Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh on a Thursday night. And Pittsburgh's really nothing special. We know how mediocre this team is, at least offensively. Defensively, they're usually pretty good, but with all those injuries in the secondary, plus Alex Highsmith hasn't practiced yet this week, like they could have some issues here. They're already pretty pedestrian against the run. Kamani Vidal nearly ran for 100 yards against them. So Chase Brown could have a solid game too. But yeah, and look, Pittsburgh's going to score in Cincinnati, especially Trey Hendrickson probably out. But I think Cincinnati, I feel like, is going to be either in a position to maybe win this game in a shootout, or at the very least get a backdoor cover with Flacco throwing to his elite receivers. We saw Flacco get a backdoor cover against the Packers, we know the Packers are better than the Steelers, and I think the Bengals should be able to keep this game close. I think this is probably a 3-point game, and we also know how bad Mike Tomlin is as a big favorite of more than 3. So, more so on the road than home, but still. Plus Cincinnati, for what it's worth, and usually it's these days not worth that much, but still, they are coming off extra rest. So I like Cincinnati here. What do you think?
Well, the problem with Cincinnati is there's some really bad defenses in the league, and this is just obviously one of them. They have given up 31, 39, and 47 points in their last 3 games, over 7 yards per play overall, each one of those games. So the defense was so bad that the offense is like there's a mutiny against some of their players. Like I don't know what's going on. You have Chase and Higgins, and everyone's angry, and they're all screaming at one another. So maybe the bye was good for them just to kind of get away from it all. Obviously, the good news is that Aaron Rodgers is done. I think we saw that last week. He is done. I wanted to believe before the season that he was going to have somewhat of a decent year. I had him ranked as a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. He's just absolutely finished. That team has no offense whatsoever. Last week was another example of the fact that Pittsburgh is not getting turnovers and short fields. They physically can't score. They have gone 3 and out on about 40% or over 40% of their drives on the season. That's pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
That's pretty pathetic. Last week, they were 4.4 yards per play. They were 2 for 11 on third downs. Now, the Chargers defense obviously better, but they have no run game. They have absolutely no run game. They have no downfield passing game. When he's pressured, he doesn't want to get touched. He was pressured 10 times. He completed 1 pass on his 10 dropbacks where he was pressured, 1 for 7 throwing. It is somewhat of a revenge spot, but that just means they're motivated. So what? They have no offense. Even against the bad defense, they have no offense. And like you said, Pittsburgh's defense hasn't been world beaters lately. So 5.5, I like it. I made the line 4. I wouldn't be shocked if Cincinnati won the game outright. Mm-hmm. Now that they kind of feel like Burrow is practicing, Burrow may be coming back, there's reason for them to be motivated as well. And Tomlin, he knows that Flacco owns him. Flacco is good against him. That's why he was upset with the trade. So you're giving me 5.5. I fully agree with the pick. I like the Bengals getting the 5.5 points. I would take this up to like 3.5 or 4. So I could see Pittsburgh winning this game by 3 or 4 points. So I like the 5.5 there.
How much do you like it? It's top 5 play, or maybe?
Yeah, I would say it's top 5 play. Again, I don't like a lot of games this week, so by default, this becomes a top 5 play. But yeah, I do like Cincinnati. And again, I have a live dog that I think has a chance to win the game. I think this is a close game. Backdoor potential. Pittsburgh just can't move the ball. So unless you're handicapping turnovers, and I think Pittsburgh, let's see where they are at turnover margin. Turnover margin, Pittsburgh is number 5 in the NFL. And it's the games that they won this year, the Colts game, the Patriots game, where they won strictly because of turnover margin. If they don't have turnover margin in those games, they have no chance. They should have lost in those games. So I think without turnovers, if Flacco doesn't turn the ball over, I think this game is very close.
Yeah, and remember, The Patriots game they got all those turnovers. Yeah. Kevin Kovac, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Once again, you're the man. He's asking, is Tomlin fading as one of the better head coaches? Seems like he's lost a step. What kind of roster constructions is 42-year-old Rodgers and Mason Rudolph? Shanahan always has young quarterbacks in his stable. I mean, don't forget that they traded George Pickens too. Like they looked like they would have a great 1-2 punch with Metcalf and Pickens, and they traded Pickens, and kind of weird to do that when you're going all in with Rodgers there. It just doesn't make any sense. And so it's just Metcalf, and you take him away, there's really no one else to throw to. And I know they have a million tight ends, but it's pretty bad. So what do you think about the 7? Is
Tomlin? First of all, I've had Tomlin as one of my bottom coaches for a long time. What makes him a top head coach? The fact that the Rooneys don't fire anybody. If this guy were coaching in a college like an LSU, he would have been fired several times over, right? He just has not lived up to expectations. The man goes 500 every single year. Now, the first half of his career, yes, they won a Super Bowl. They did get some help from the refs in one of those games, if you remember. They won. They lost the Super Bowl to Green Bay. They never really had a chance, and they won the Seattle game where they shouldn't have won that game. After that, they had the Triple Bs. They were a top 5 team in the league talent-wise, and they faded every single year. So I would argue that they've underachieved when they had really good teams, and then they've never been a bad team. And then some games where they find their way to 500. How many times have we talked about this in the past? How many times has he lost outright as a double-digit favorite? How many times has he not covered off of a win as a double-digit favorite? The man is an underachiever. He goes 9-8 or 8-8 every single year. Every year, they haven't won a playoff game in years. What makes this guy a top head coach?
I will say this though, like the fact that he hasn't had a losing season, I think is pretty impressive, especially when you consider. And I know he had a lot of great teams back in the day, but recently, if you look at like the past 6-7 years or so, he's had an aging Roethlisberger who is not effective. He's also had a bunch of horrible quarterbacks, like really. You go through the Mason Rudolphs and the Kenny Pickett's and a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, a lot of horrible quarterbacking. So he's never had a great quarterback since Ben in his prime. Now, I know you said they did underachieve for sure because they have lost those double-digit favorite games. By the way, Tomlin had I looked it up. He's had 31 instances of being a double-digit favorite. He's 26-5 in those games, so he's lost 5 times as a double-digit favorite. 13-18 against the spread, so he's been a big loser against the spread, right? So
they've always had an expensive, very good defense, so no question about that. They've always had a top defense, or usually have had a top expensive defense. Yeah. When was the last time they won a playoff game? They also had a lot of luck in the last couple of years. Remember, a couple of years they snuck into the playoffs, and in the first round they never had it prior.
Right. They lost that game to Cleveland. I remember 6-point favorites to Baker Mayfield. Yeah, it's been a while since they won a playoff game. You're right. So I guess since the Ben days, since Ben was.
Yeah, I don't look at him as a top coach. I look at Vrabel as a top head coach.
Vrabel's awesome. I assume he's going to win. I assume he's going to win Coach of the Year. Vrabel.
Probably.
Yeah,
that team's going to go 13-4.
Yeah, really.
They just tonight won their over 8.5 wins on the season.
It's crazy. Yeah, we're not even Thanksgiving yet. They got the over. So if anyone had that, congratulations. I did not. Unfortunately, I did recognize their easy schedule. I'm like, are they really going to improve to 9+ wins? Well, yeah, they're going to get to 13+ wins apparently. It's pretty crazy. So, Kevin, once again, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Texans at Titans. This line is dropping rapidly. It was 7 or so beforehand, and now it was 6.5 yesterday when I did the show with Andy. Now it's 6. And it's because Davis Mills was announced as the starter. CJ Stroud still out with a concussion. So generally, like pretty worrying when a quarterback misses 2 games with a concussion. Usually it's like 1 game and then he's back. And now it's 2+ games. So we kind of wonder if he's even going to play the Thursday night game because it's only 4 days after this one. So you have Davis Mills starting once again as a 6-point favorite. Usually, I don't really want to back a Davis Mills as a 6-point favorite. But I initially was considering siding with the Titans here, not as a bet, but because Houston is in the same, or appears to be in the same spot as Buffalo was last week. They're coming off a big win where Buffalo had to win against Kansas City. Houston had that great comeback against Jacksonville. The next game, they have a tougher opponent. Houston plays Buffalo in 4 days, and they're playing against a team they already beat earlier in the season. So it seems like the same spot. But I think the difference here is that Davis Mills is starting instead of Stroud. And I think the Texans might be thinking, our backup is still in. Stroud is out. We need to play harder to win this game, even though it is against the Titans. I don't think that's like necessarily their mindset, but I think that might be the case. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be the same flat spot as Buffalo had last week. So I'm kind of wondering if Houston's the right side here. And Tennessee is just atrocious. We know how bad they are. I mention this all the time, but they can't do anything well. Like even the other bottom feeders, they can do some things well. The Jets, they have a good edge rush. Breece Hall's good. We mentioned Miami's running game's awesome, and they have Jalen Waddle. The Saints, they have Chris Olave is a really good receiver. Kamara out of the backfield against bad opponents can do stuff, and the run defense is not bad. But the Titans can't do anything well. Like not even at a mediocre level. Maybe punt returning with Shamari DK. That's it. They can't do anything, and they don't have a head coach. They have no offensive line coach. They lost him because he had it was the head coach's dad, so he's gone. This team is just a mess, and as we pointed out yesterday, 5-24 against the spread since the start of last year. Like they are a money printing machine, and I kind of don't want to miss out on more money by fading the Titans. So even though -6 with Davis Mills looks so ugly, I am considering betting it. So how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I don't love it as a contest pick, but you can't be on the Tennessee side. And though that line coming down is an absolute mistake, obviously 2 weeks ago, 14 of their 20 points were a pick six in the first drive and then a special team score. Houston saved their season last week. By coming back in that game, they absolutely saved their season. This is another week where they can come back and get to 500, and their defense is just unbelievable. Danielle Hunter last week had 3.5, 4 sacks in the game. He was a man possessed. He was fantastic. We talked about how bad Ward is holding the ball. I imagine this defensive line is going to absolutely just feast on the O-line for Tennessee and Ward. The last time they played, the game was close at halftime. It was 6-0 at halftime. I remember vividly, as it was a survivor pick for me back in whatever week that was earlier in the season.
Week 4.
Week 4. But ultimately, Houston found a way to score a couple more touchdowns, and 26-0 was your final. I think Tennessee will find a way to score maybe one touchdown, maybe a field goal or two, but not more than that. And maybe Davis Mills is better for this team now because he runs a little bit more. So he made some plays. They were finally good on third down, by the way. They were 10 for 15 last week on third down. That's a big change from the previous numbers. They were 4 for 5 in the red zone. Their defense just continues to be awesome. They held the Jaguars to 3.9 yards per play. In the week 4 game, Ward was 10 for 26 for 108 yards. They were 2 for 11 on third down. They were 3.8 yards per play for the game. How is Tennessee moving the ball? There's no backdoor potential. Like you said, Houston's fired up defensively. I would be on Houston here. I don't know that this is a contest pick. Again, you're laying points on the road. The line's 6.5. I made the line 8, so I thought it'd be more than a touchdown. And that's with Stroud or without Stroud. To me, right now, I don't think there's much of a difference. But Tennessee can't take advantage of the weaknesses that Houston has on the offensive line. They have no coach. They don't do anything right. To me, it's Houston or pass, and I'd probably lean towards Houston. If you liked it, I'd go with it. Again, don't love laying points on the road just generally, especially with a team that doesn't have a great offense. But Tennessee is just dead man walking. You can't be on Tennessee.
I'm going to put it down as a maybe because, like you said, you don't like too many games this week. So if we're struggling to find a 5th game, maybe this is our 5th game. Yeah, Kevin, $5 super chat. Thanks, Kevin. He says, "Where's your Titans list of things they don't have going for them right now?" Yeah, Kevin, what's my list? Okay, they can't pass the ball, they can't run the ball, they can't block, they can't get to the quarterback, they can't stop the run, they can't cover. They have no head coach, they have no offensive line coach. Their best defensive player is out.
But I like DK.
Yeah.
DK is explosive. When I've been
Yeah.
against Tennessee every single week with
Mhm.
Survivor. It's like a joke. Every single week I find myself putting them on a big TV because I have to sit and watch them, and it's usually Spiro Ditas announcing the game. So kill me with Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta, just awful. But every time DK touches the ball, I'm like, oh my god, oh. So like I really think like this guy has a lot of talent, and I think Ward has talent. I predicted before the season that he was going to hold the ball too long
Yeah.
behind a bad offensive line. And there, that last week or 2 weeks ago, when Herbert threw that pick six, I immediately bet Tennessee plus 7.5. I already had the plus 11.5 as a mental hedge to my Survivor. So I thankfully covered both of those. But they can't move the ball. They can't score. And they punt from midfield. They have nothing to lose if they still punt. So they're not good at anything.
No, nothing. They're not even average at anything except for
No.
the DK stuff on punt returns.
This
That's it.
team is so awful. I have them right now minus 11. It's very rare to have a team in the NFL that is worse than like minus 8. I think the Giants a few years ago when they were playing, I forget who the quarterback was a couple of years ago. They were like on a third string quarterback, and I had the Giants really low at the end of the season. I want to see how low I had the
Was it
Giants.
DeVito?
And that wasn't last year. It wasn't
Oh,
last year with
he was
DeVito.
2 years ago. DeVito was 2 years ago, wasn't he?
Was it
Also,
2 years ago?
yeah, he played last year and 2 years ago. So I don't know if it was him. I can't think of who else it would be though. I
I'm
mean,
trying to think
Dano.
of when I had the Giants as low as I had them. Was it last year? Maybe it was last year with DeVito.
They did have. I do remember some dreadful quarterbacks. I think in like 2021 or something. I can. I don't know. I have to look it up, but yeah. So anyway, yeah. I think that the more I think about it, like it's like this is just such a nightmare matchup for Cam Ward,
Yep.
because like you said, he holds the ball so long, and Houston has a great pass rush, and Tennessee can't block, so it's like it just seems like such a disaster for them. So that's why I would consider it as a contest pick, but there are some. I mean, there are some games I like more. If this were like the Golden Nugget contest, I would. I would probably have them as my 6th or 7th pick right now. Was your quarterback Jake Fromm? Was that it?
Maybe. I don't remember. I don't have
Okay.
it. I don't have it readily available, so I don't waste time looking for it. But yeah,
Okay.
pretty good.
Okay, yeah, Jake Fromm much worse than DeVito. All right, next game is Bears at the Vikings. This line dropped. It was 3, now 2.5. Not sure why. And I looked at the injury report. The only thing I saw is Christian Darrisaw was DNP on Thursday, but he's been DNP on Thursday for the past few weeks. So, and he was full on Wednesday. So I think it was just a rest day for him. So I'm not, unless he's DNP on Friday, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Plus, they have the right tackle too. It's not like they're missing both tackles. I love this spot for Minnesota. I mentioned earlier how I like this. Chicago's defense is atrocious right now, especially they've been good against the run between weeks 5 and 9. And what happened was TJ Edwards, who's their star linebacker, he's kind of like the glue who holds everything together with that defense. He's really good. The last time he missed the game was week 4 when Ashton Genty went nuts against them. And then he came back, and the Bears got better against the run. And then last week, TJ Edwards was out. And that made me switch I didn't switch the pick, but I mentioned on our show last week, I was going to be like a few units on the Bears, consider them as a contest play. As soon as I saw TJ Edwards, I'm like, they're not going to be able to stop the run. And like, especially against Jackson Dart, I thought that was going to be really tough for the Bears. So I just removed that as a potential selection. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Also, the Bears are missing the top 2 corners. So not only are they going to be bad against the run here against Aaron Jones, who's back to being the primary back for Minnesota, the big thing is that without their top two corners, they're going to have a major problem stopping Minnesota's receivers. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, even Hawkinson over in the middle of the field. Like, it just seems like such a great matchup for Minnesota. We already saw Minnesota beat Chicago week 1. I know that was Ben Johnson's first game, but that was in Chicago, and Minnesota obviously much better at home, and they tend to dominate the Bears. I think they won 7 of their last 8 matchups. So, I like Minnesota a lot here, especially 2.5. I don't understand why it's dropped, but it's not like the Sharps are accurate 100% of the time. So, I'm big on Minnesota here. What do you think?
Well, line's 3 in the Super Contest, and 2.5 or 3. I made the line 4.5, and this is my number 1 game on the board. I fully agree with you. I think this. I cannot believe that this line is under 3. This line makes absolutely no sense. But let's start with Minnesota because we want to try to find things for and pro and a con against with each team. Minnesota played a very, very poor game last week. Very poor. And I was on Minnesota last week at +4 against the Ravens. I thought they'd be a live dog to win that game. I thought they'd be in that game, and they were to start the game up 10-3, and then multiple turnovers. They fumbled the kickoff. They fumbled another kickoff, but got the ball back. McCarthy was really, really bad throughout most of the game. He was under. His accuracy was very poor. He threw a couple of picks. There were a lot of dangerous throws over the middle of the field. And a couple of times as I'm rewatching that game, I'm thinking, like, these middle of the field throws are just really asking for trouble. He did have some nice throws down the sidelines, to his credit. So you could see with McCarthy, and I'm not a McCarthy fan, you could see there's some talent there, right? You watch a guy like Bryce Young, and there's no talent, 0. The guy is not an NFL quarterback, and I rest my case on Bryce Young. Justin Fields, also backup or bust. McCarthy has potential. You could see some of these throws where he does have some potential, although his throws over the middle of the field are very, very dangerous, and he's making a lot of rookie mistakes, as you would expect. The other thing that I see from McCarthy, and this is a problem they had last week throughout the game, they had 13 penalties for the game. 8 of them were full starts. McCarthy himself had a full start. Very rare that you see a quarterback with a full start. Jefferson had a full start, but he's causing his offensive line to full start. So that's definitely going to improve. That's something that is, again, rookie mistake, continuity, chemistry to build. So that's Minnesota's side. For the Bears, this team is the most overrated team in the league. I know we've talked about the Broncos being overrated. There's no team more overrated than Chicago. Right now, this team they're tied with Washington, number 32, last in the league defense yards per play. They're 29th versus the rush at 5.2 yards per play. They're 31st in the league against the pass at 7.8 yards per play. Since their 0-2 start, they've won 6 out of 7 against the following defenses. Dallas, we know doesn't have any defense. The Raiders, Washington, no defense. New Orleans, who stinks. And in that game, Rattler threw the ball away 3 times, which is why Chicago won that game by margin. Baltimore, who had some guys back, but they still lost that game to Baltimore. Cincinnati, no defense, and they should have lost that game. Although maybe you could say they should have won that game until the onside kick, but they still gave up a ton of points in that game. And the Giants game, they had no business winning that game. So this is a team that hasn't beaten anybody good. They should have lost a bunch of those games. The Redskins obviously fumbled the ball in the rain. The Raiders had a blocked field goal. The Giants blew the game because the coach got fired for it. Now you're stepping up in class against a team at home that has a much, much better defense than what they've seen recently, or really pretty much at all this season. And it's a Minnesota spot, who's now last in the division, must-win game at home. I can't believe this line is 2.5. You mentioned this as a potential survivor pick. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Minnesota's, again, you don't want to take -2.5 3-point favorites when you can lay 7, or take a team like Green Bay, who's -7. But if you said I'm taking Minnesota survivor, I would say, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. They should win this game easily. And I think they're going to win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Love it. Love it. Glad to hear that you agree with this. So looks like we have 3 definites right now with Green Bay, Cincinnati, and Minnesota. So yeah, we're not even at the 4:00 games. So we have 3 definites. So hopefully we get to 5, because like you said, you don't like much this week. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Panthers at the Falcons. Falcons are -3.5. I initially was kind of like wishy-washy in this game, just because, I don't trust the Falcons, especially off the travel. Like, they have to travel back, lots of jet lag here. We saw Denver really struggle against the Giants with the jet lag, and Germany is farther than London. That counts for something. So long flight here for Atlanta. For some reason, did not take the bye. They have to be exhausted, especially like it was an overtime game as well. So that's problematic too. So you know, I thought that okay, so Atlanta has these issues, but I really don't like Carolina at all, and I think Atlanta's better than Carolina. I like Atlanta's running game against Carolina; it just makes sense. But I thought that the first time, and we saw 30-0. But Atlanta's a no-show, and this is a revenge spot. But the injuries here are pretty rough for Atlanta, and the offensive line. Both their guards, who are pretty good players, Matthew Bergeron, and to a better extent, Chris Lindstrom. Lindstrom's a phenomenal player. They're both DNP this week with both practices. So if both of them are out, so they're going to be missing their two guards and the right tackle. We know that Caleb Gary's been out for the year. So they're going to have two starting offensive linemen here against, a Carolina defensive line that has some talent, with Derek Brown and such. I feel like that's an issue here for Atlanta. So not only do you have the jet lag, you have the horrible coach, you also have these injuries now to offensive line. I think Carolina's looking somewhat decent. I don't know if I can get to them. Man, I need more points with Carolina. I know they won 5 games. I just don't really trust them. But I'm now leaning toward Carolina here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, so a couple of weeks ago, I had Atlanta penciled in as a survivor pick for this week, and I actually, when I had 2 entries available, I said, yeah, I'm going to take Atlanta twice. Even though they lost 30-0 the last time they played, I'm safe. This is going to be a 7-point favorite. No, don't worry about it. Yeah. And then, of course, Atlanta, started losing to the teams like Miami. They didn't play well against San Francisco, and they've now been the definition of inconsistent. And then we started looking at the travel schedule up ahead, and it's like, they're going to be playing in Berlin, and there's going to be no travel. So a few weeks ago, I decided, let me take the Patriots once and then the Bears against the Saints. Just in case I don't like Atlanta twice, I'll have New England for one of those 2 games. And then I also thought I had New England and maybe even Houston as a backup. And I'm thinking Atlanta's going to be survivor all along. Now, with the travel spot, and we know it's a terrible spot, it's almost an 11-hour flight. We checked, it's 10 hours and 40 minutes flight back from Berlin to Atlanta. So you have jet lag. I docked them a point for that. I still come out with a -4. So the line's a little light. But really, to me, let's talk Atlanta for a little bit more. Penix is miserable. This guy, he's throwing late and behind his guys. They should have won last week. They couldn't stop Taylor rushing. So Indy had 300 yards, over 300 yards rushing last week. Penix wasn't even close. He was 12 for 28 passing. That's not NFL starting caliber. You got to be at least 55, 60%. And that's probably low end. To be below 50%, that's pretty bad. They were 0 for 8 on third down. So, he was 3 for 8 passing on his 11 pressures. They were outgained 7 to 4.8 yards per play. So really not an impressive showing and really the definition of inconsistent. But I'm sorry with Carolina. I know there's a lot of professional players out there, professional bettors out there who really like Carolina last year. They like Carolina coming into the season this year. They point to this record that they are now competitive. Carolina is awful. Carolina is a bottom 5 football team. Bryce Young, we talked about him a little bit before with Fields. Bryce Young this year had 38. Did he have 38 or 40 yards? I think he had 40 yards rushing in week 1. He's had 40 yards rushing since. Bryce Young's longest pass on the season traveled 40 or was a 40-yard completion. Only Ted McMillan has more than 200 yards receiving on the season through 10 weeks. There's not a single other player on that team who averages 20 yards per game. Now, last week, Bryce Young had 1 pick that counted. He had 1 fumble. He had another pick that he got bailed out because they threw a phantom roughing penalty. He had 2 balls that were tipped in the air that could have been picked. In his last 5 games, he's thrown at least 1 pick 4 out of the 5 games. He averages 5 yards per attempt. Last week, again, 124 passing yards. His last 3 games, he's been in that 5 yards per attempt. That's what Justin Fields was tonight. The guy is a backup quarterback who can't, as you pointed out, see over the line of scrimmage. If they don't have a running game, they have no offense whatsoever. Look at the amount of points that they've scored in some of these games recently. Carolina point totals, and I don't care who they're playing, and I understand they beat Green Bay. They scored 7 points last week as a favorite against New Orleans. They put up 16 in Green Bay. They had 9 against Buffalo, 13 against the Jets. Dallas doesn't play any defense, so let's forget about that. But just look at these point totals. It's pathetic. Their offense is an absolute joke. By the way, They've been in the last 11 games that Carolina's been favored. You want to guess how many games they've won out of those 11 times they've been favored? You want to guess a number?
Assume it's a low number here. By the way,
Guess the low number. You want to guess the number of games they've won straight up. Forget it against the spread.
As a favorite, the
As a
last 11
favorite,
games.
how many times have they won the game straight up? In 11 times they've been favored.
4-7.
0-11.
Oh, jeez, God.
So because the market thinks that this team is now, they're 5-5, they're competitive. They're not competitive. They're a horrible team that's gotten lucky a couple of times. They're my 28th ranked team. Only the Redskins, Jets, Saints, and Titans are worse. So I like the Falcons here, and I hate laying points with the Falcons with the inconsistent Penix. I hate laying points with the Falcons coming back from Berlin. But the Falcons just lost to this team 30-0. The Falcons are pretty much dead, 3-6. They are obviously in a must-win situation. I think their defense will absolutely dominate this game. I cannot see Atlanta. I can't see the Panthers. Maybe the better bet in this game is the under. Maybe the better bet is the Carolina team total under. But I lay the points with Atlanta. If we can't find a fifth game, this is a game that I would consider even at 3.5.
Okay, I guess we're on different sides here. I like what Andy's saying here. You mentioned if Carolina doesn't have a run offense, then they can't score, which is definitely true. But Atlanta's run defense is awful. So we saw what just Taylor did. Obviously, Taylor is phenomenal, but Rico Doodle has been really good. So I think Doodle could have a solid game here, and I think it'll be a 3-point game. What
did Rico do in the first game against them?
I don't think he was not a full-time player. He was not a full-time player yet. He was he is still Chuba Hubbard back then, which was Chuba Hubbard went 17 for 73. So yeah, Hubbard was still the starter. Doodle had 10 carries for 30 yards, but yeah, we know how bad Atlanta's run defense is. It's what are they EPA wise?
The Panthers in that game rushed for 3.7 yards per carry. Okay.
Yeah.
3.7 yards per carry right now would make them the number 31 ranked rushing offense on a yards per carry basis.
Yeah.
They had they ran the ball 30 times because they had the lead, and they didn't really gain much in those attempts. Bryce Young had 121 passing yards and 5 yards per attempt. They won that game because Penix was an absolute disease.
Yeah. And Atlanta just didn't show up. But I do think that Doodle has been a lot better than Hubbard, though, and I think that he's had some big games. We know he's had some monster games, and this Atlanta's 27th against the run, so I think Doodle's gonna have a good game here.
Carolina had a nice drive against Green Bay to win the game, no question about it. They got the ball back, they had the wind at their back, they moved the ball to the midfield to whatever it was. They had a nice 40-yard drive, 35-yard drive to win the game last week. Otherwise, this team is a bottom offensive team. They're not a great defensive team. Carolina defensively, I have them ranked 22nd. Offense, I have Carolina ranked, where's my Carolina? 29th at 4.8 yards per play for the season. Bryce Young's not an NFL quarterback, and this team is very much overrated because of the record that they have.
Yeah.
I love fading these overrated teams. I'm sorry. They shouldn't have been in Green Bay. That was a fluky game that Green Bay lost.
Yeah.
They beat the Jets in a game where they didn't move the ball past midfield most of the day. Just the Jets kept punting. If you remember that game, the Jets were down by 7. It was a 4th down with 2 minutes to go, and the Jets punted. It's like, why not?
I remember that. I didn't understand that at all. I actually had I had an argument with a Jets fan about that. He's like, of course they should have punted. I'm like, he's like, because if they don't get the 4th down, the game's over. And I'm like, right. But if you punt, the game's over anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well just have a play. Kevin Kovac, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin, once again. He says Falcons fans should file a class action against Raheem for football malpractice. I agree. They should definitely do that. The bad thing about the class action lawsuits is you wait 8 years and you get paid $20. It's so stupid. But anyway, spot bet, play better for Canales / Panthers after Saints home loss, right? I think the spot is I think there are 2 other things you can look for the spot. One is, as we discussed, the jet lag after that 11-hour flight. That's pretty rough for Atlanta, plus overtime. I think the other spot is that there's a chance that Atlanta could just be running on fumes here, and it not just because of the jet lag, but because they're suddenly 3-6, and I think they might see the writing on the wall, and they kind of might know that the season's over. I don't know if they think that way, but some players might be like, "Oh, we're done," like they gave the Colts everything they had, and they lost. So I feel like it's going to be so difficult to come back from that.
It's hard to trust Atlanta. That's 100% true.
Yeah, for sure.
Penix is bad. He's very bad. He's a slightly better version of Dylan Gabriel, another quarterback who's not an NFL quarterback. And the travel is brutal. It's hard to trust the team with this coach. That's another problem. But the spot to me gets wiped away more so because the Falcons lost 30-0 to this team a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm not on Carolina. Can't be an underdog here by 3 points, 3.5 points. Just can't be.
Yeah.
They're not good. They're a bottom team. They're a bottom 5 NFL team. They're not a mediocre team. They're not a slightly below average team. They're a well below average football team. Atlanta's a slightly below average football team. I have Atlanta 18th, -1.5. I have Carolina 28th at -6. On a neutral field, I make the line 4.5. Right now,
see, I have them closer. I have Atlanta 20, Carolina 24.
24 is too high. Who do you have behind Carolina?
Well, the teams you mentioned, Titans, Jets, Redskins, Saints, Dolphins are Group F. The Raiders are very close to Group F. Then
you would have the Panthers favored over the Raiders on a neutral field?
Oh, yeah.
Panthers over Raiders on a neutral field. Okay.
Yeah. Panthers have a much better defense. What are the Panthers in defense? They are, well, okay, maybe not much better. Maybe not even better. I don't know. I'm seeing like 23rd for the Panthers in defense. I thought they were like 18th or 19th. They were higher earlier in the year. They are good against the run. I'll say that. Even though I thought I said earlier that Atlanta's running game looks good against them. Somehow they are 8th against the run. So I don't know where that came from, but their issues are against the pass completely. So, but Atlanta can't really pass that well. Yeah, I don't really trust it. Also have the Bengals and Giants, behind Carolina. That's Giants with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Atlanta listen. We're not gonna trust the offense at all. But they should have beaten the Colts last week, and they were a missed extra point away from going to overtime against New England on the road. This is not a bottom team. It's not garbage versus garbage. Take the points. Garbage is the Panthers. When you talk about teams when the Saints play the Panthers, you take the points. When the Falcons play the Panthers, you take the Falcons.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to be rooting for the Panthers simply because I think people will have the Falcons in Survivor.
Yeah.
But I think I was very surprised on the look ahead last week when that line came out, and I could just only attribute it to the travel.
Yeah, I mean, the travels, I think it's a big deal. So.
No question. It's an 11-hour flight going west. It's definitely a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have no idea how that's going to affect them.
Yeah. It was a very tight game. It's not like a blowout where they're resting guys in the fourth quarter. It went to overtime.
Correct.
Yeah, it went to overtime. So very, very tough spot, I think, for Atlanta. When Poop plays Poop, take the point. Yeah, I don't think Atlanta's quite Poop.
Right. Exactly.
They're slightly below average. But Andy has Carolina beating Atlanta 26-21. Atlanta is one of the most underachieving teams in the NFL. I do agree with that.
No, I think Atlanta. I think Andy's saying his power ratings are Atlanta 21.
Carolina. Okay. That makes more sense. All right, yeah. So we're pretty close in distance there because I've these teams 4 spots apart. Andy has them 5 spots apart,
and I have them 10 spots apart.
Yeah, which would explain why we're on different sides here.
On your website you wrote 26-20. Am I wrong about that? You don't have you have the Panthers. You change your score.
Because the offensive line injuries. They have 2 starting linemen. Like,
what do you have? How many points do you have Carolina scoring in this game?
What I have on the site.
I don't know. I thought you had 26-20.
It might still be 26-20. I might have to adjust that, but
I will make a large wager that Carolina's going to get 20 points.
Okay. Well, the what is the total? 42.5. So
The
what is that?
total is 42 and a half, which means you're looking at 20, what is this, 22 to 19 range. So they'll be
Yeah.
what, 19 and a half?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
okay.
give me the under on 19 and a half.
Okay. Um. Yeah. Any thoughts? Any thoughts to the offensive line injuries? No, these are like just not replacement players. Bergeron's good, and Lindstrom's like all pro level guard.
No,
No, what? No, you don't.
no,
You don't
no
care.
thoughts to it.
You don't care at
I'm
all.
not deducting point. First of all, Lidstrom might play.
Well,
I'm
he's in
not,
practice. He's in practice yet. So
yeah, I would see tomorrow. I'm more concerned about tackles than I am about the guards. And to me,
well,
I don't think there's as much of a difference here.
their right tackle's also out. So like they have 3 missing linemen. You know, it's pretty brutal. I think.
Yeah, what's his name? Wilkinson. Elijah Wilkinson's been playing right tackle for them. He's not
Yeah.
very good, but I don't think their offensive line has been the problem. I think for me, I just want to see Bijan get the ball out in space, and I don't think Atlanta's putting up 30. It's not like
Yeah.
Atlanta's putting up 30 points. I have this game 23-16, 23-13, something in that
Okay.
ballpark.
Okay.
I just think Carolina is one of the worst teams, and I think they're piloted by one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I
Sure.
think I have Bryce Young as the worst quarterback in the league. I'm between. Well, I have Young ahead of Dylan Gabriel, if that counts.
Yeah, I would hope
I don't
so.
have. I have Bryce Young number 32. I have Gabriel number 33, and that's only because I left Burrow in my mix for now. If I take Burrow out, I would have Bryce Young 31. I don't think he's going to be a starting quarterback in the league next year. I think he'll be out of the league in 2 years, maybe 3. But I think next year they're going to move on from him. I would be shocked if he starts the year as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
You look at every single metric, QBR, quarterback rating in general, the PFF rankings. He is literally at the bottom of every single category. Yards per attempt, yards per game, completion percentage, touchdowns. He can't run the football. He's just at the bottom of every single metric you look at. He's got no potential. He doesn't make guys better. He's got even when I hear him call out the cadence, he sounds weak. Flacco, you hear a bellowing voice. With Bryce Young, he literally sounds like a high school kid or middle school kid, I should say.
He looks like a middle school kid.
Yeah.
He's like 5'9". He can't see over the line of scrimmage. It's a big problem.
It's a very big problem. I would wager very strongly that he is not starting week 1 next year for anybody.
My only pushback is that their owner, Axe Tepper, is so stubborn that I feel like he's just going to keep trying to put stuff around Bryce Young, and he's going to keep making excuses for it. But I do think that the Panthers are they're too far away from having a top pick for one of these. I don't even call them elite quarterbacks, but like the upper tier of the draft class quarterbacks. So they're not going to be able to get a Simpson or Mendoza or Dante Moore.
Well, then there'll be a team that's in the market for like a Mac Jones type of player.
Right. I feel like they're gonna make a trade, or they're gonna spend like a 3rd round pick on the quarterback, probably trade. So yeah, that makes sense. Like Mac Jones or maybe Kirk Cousins or something. But I think that the owner is going to want everyone to get the most out of Bryce Young, and I feel like he's gonna force another receiver draft pick just so like
and his line, then we'll have an opportunity to bet against them again next year.
Yeah, and look, this is the same guy who I don't know if you heard the story, but we of course, obviously, Charlie and I have sources. Charlie way more sources than me. I have a couple. As soon as that trade happened, when Carolina moved up with Chicago, I heard that night that the coaches in Carolina were excited that they're going to take C.J. Stroud, and then so I put C.J. Stroud in my mock draft. And then all the stuff's coming out about Bryce Young. I'm like, I reached back to my source. I'm like, is CJ Stroud still gonna be the pick? And he's like, no, the owner wants Bryce Young, and he's gonna have us take Bryce Young. So this Axe Tepper thinks he knows more. And what's funny is he fired everyone who was against this pick. So like apparently he knows more than the football people he hires. Like I don't even know why he hires football people. So this guy is so stubborn. And also the Panthers this past draft we're going to take an edge rusher at 8. But the owner came in and pushed for Teteroa McMillan because he wants to justify the Bryce Young pick.
Well, at least Ted McMillan has more than 200 receiving yards on the season.
Yeah.
The best bet in this game is Carolina's team total under. So that I agree with. For our purposes, we're looking at contest picks. I would consider Atlanta as a contest pick. For betting purposes, Carolina team total unders play the game.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. And he's saying Carolina more likely to draft Homer Simpson rather than Ty Simpson. Well, look, if Homer Simpson's a receiver, then yes, you're right, because Axe Tapper is going to want to justify his pick. Just talk about not understanding what a sunk cost is. This is so bad. Anyway, we have our final 1:00 game, Chargers at the Jaguars. The Chargers are -3. This feels like a carbon copy of last week's Chargers versus Steelers game, where you have a team in the Jaguars who can get after the quarterback. They do have a good edge rush, and that appears to be a big edge here against the Chargers because they're missing their top 2 tackles. The problem is the same thing that happened in the Steelers game. Steelers had no offense. The Chargers actually had the number 5 defense in the NFL. So the Chargers were able to completely shut down what Pittsburgh was doing outside of an early field goal. But I think that, while Trevor Lawrence is obviously, much younger, has more upside than Rodgers at this point, he just hasn't played well this year, like not at all. And it's really a big disappointment. I thought, now 2 years removed from all those injuries he suffered, with a new coach, number 2 overall pick receiver, I thought that he'd have a good chance to really bounce back this year and kind of continue what he had in 2022 when he had that great finish. But he just hasn't looked good, and his top 2 receivers are out. His offensive line has allowed the 8th most pressures in the NFL. The Chargers can get after the quarterback well with Khalil Mack. I like the Chargers here, despite their 2 missing tackles. I don't love it because I don't trust the line to protect Herbert. And I feel like Chargers winning by 3 is very probably the most likely result in this game. So we're not playing for pushes here, but I would take the Chargers if I had to. What are your thoughts on this game?
I wouldn't touch either side. At 3, I would probably lean to the Jaguars. At 2.5, I'd probably lean to the Chargers. I continue to go back and forth. I'm afraid of the Chargers without the tackles, especially now going on the road. I get it. Jacksonville is not necessarily the team that's going to take advantage of that, although Josh Hines-Allen is he playing? Is he hurt? Is there anything on Josh Allen this week? Because I haven't seen anything.
No, I'm not seeing. He's not on the injury report.
It scares me. The Jaguars being off that blown game. Like, where are they mentally right now? This is another team that has benefited throughout the season. There's been 3 teams that have really benefited and needed turnovers to win game. Jacksonville, obviously, being one of them. We already mentioned Chicago and Pittsburgh. If they don't get turnover margin, I can't trust Jacksonville to win games. I can't trust Trevor Lawrence to win games. I mean, is it Jacksonville's defense that allowed Houston 10 for 15 on 3rd downs last week and 4 for 5 in the red zone? Or was that Davis Mills being better than we thought, right?
Yeah.
Jacksonville's defense is overrated. So they're getting all those turnovers, those tip balls that they got against Kansas City. So that would put me more towards the Charger side, but I don't want to be laying 3 on the road. I just can't trust the offensive line to protect. Last week, Herbert got sacked again 5 times. He was pressured 17 times. He was 5 for 11 on those dropbacks. So that's something to be concerned about. Davis Mills, by the way, was pressured 20 times. Jacksonville did get after the quarterback a little bit. Yeah. Again, is that the Houston offensive line? Probably. So I just don't trust either side here. I don't want to be on Jacksonville, but I don't want to be laying -3 with the Chargers.
Yeah, we agree. It feels like there's nothing here, so we can move on to the.
All right, my power rating in the game is below 3, so this is kind of where I conflict with my power ratings, and I've gone back and forth and changed my pick a few times. I'm in another pool where the line is 3.5. That throws me off even more. 3.5 is not the market, so I feel like at 3.5 I have to take Jacksonville. It's like who am I to go against the market? The market is 2.5, 3. So if you're in an office pool where the line is 3.5, you have to take the dog. But this has been a year where everybody is taking favorites, and the favorites keep covering. So of course the favorite's going to cover. So if you gave me 3.5, I have to be on the dog side. If you gave me 2.5, I'd be on the favorite side. I don't know how one could bet the game otherwise.
Yeah, we agree on that. So Next game is Seahawks at the Rams. The Rams are -3. You mentioned before that I have to like the Rams because I brought up the fact that Seattle has not beaten a team ranked above 18th in my power rankings, which again, it's insane that they've compiled this record. But I just don't know. I feel like I could be wrong here. Like I could be wrong about Seattle. Like sure, they have not beaten anyone, but doesn't mean they can't beat anyone. But I keep going back to this. The team that dismantled the Sam Darnold in the playoffs last year. You know, he had that loss to the Lions in the regular season finale, but then he went to the playoffs and the Rams just made mincemeat out of him. It was the Rams. They got after him so well. And he was just flustered. He looked awful again. And this is the same quarterback who saw ghosts on a Monday night game famously. Feels like he can be rattled, and the stats back that up. If you look at quarterbacks, and there are two big examples of that this week. This is the first one. Quarterbacks when kept clean versus under pressure. Sam Darnold's one of the biggest disparities in that. Sam Darnold, when he's under pressure, his completion percentage drops by like 30%. His YPA drops like by 5. It goes from like 11 to 6. Like it is so bad, the drop off. And we know the Rams can get after the quarterback. They have such a great front. We saw it in the playoffs. We're going to see it again. We've seen it all year. Seattle's interior blocking is not great. Their tackles have been awesome this year, but their interior blocking is not good. And that's where the Rams got the pressure last year in the playoffs. So I think it makes sense to take the Rams. I'm worried that I'm just wrong about Seattle. You know, like I have to see them fail here. Like I like everything says to me that this is gonna be a duplicate of what we saw last year in the playoffs in Minnesota. Like the Rams just gonna destroy Seattle. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is a tough one. I'm gonna bet the Rams. I don't know if it's gonna quite make the contest card for me. So how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of I don't know, and I think that's the correct answer. Is I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Right? This is the game that could decide the 1 seed. If Seattle wins this game on the road, first of all, I really like Seattle against the Rams in Seattle.
Okay.
In Rams, I think the line's 2.5. At 3, you asked me who to make a pick at 3, I'd take the 3. But I think the Rams are going to win for the reasons you mentioned. I think they get after Darnold. This defense is good enough. It's probably the best defense Seattle has faced. Do I trust Darnold going on the road against a team that's going to pressure him? I don't. Seattle's going to have fans there. LA doesn't have a lot of fans there. They typically have problems, especially in division, with the crowd. When you go to Seattle, the crowd's going to be 90% Seattle. In LA, the crowd might be 60-40 Rams, maybe closer to 50-50. So I would take the 3, and I would sit back and enjoy the game. You have two teams that are top. You have 2 top offenses against top defenses, at least right now, what we've seen from the season. If you told me the line were 2.5, I can buy it, but at 3, I'd stay away.
Yeah,
I want to point out for this game as well as the previous game. So here we're talking about making picks for a contest. So we have the line. The lines are now stale. Wherever these lines move, maybe there's value, maybe there's not. Here's where the value lies. If people are watching these games, and you made a comment to me before, it's like, why not just focus on 1 or 2 games at a time? Because I do so well with the live betting. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't bet enough. There's only 3 reasons why people shouldn't live bet. Number 1, you bet way too much in it. I shouldn't say too much. You bet a lot that you can't get down your normal bet size. Andy, we both know people in Vegas that are playing several figures, 5 figures on a game. You can't live bet 10,000, 20,000 on a game. You won't be able to get the money. You won't be able to get the bets in. It's not possible.
Right.
So for people who are betting that level, I get it. They don't have to live bet. It's a waste of their time. The second person who shouldn't live bet is the person who doesn't want to sit with a computer and a spreadsheet like I am, and they want to watch a football game for the beauty of the game. I like to watch for the beauty of the game, but I also like to play the live markets because I think that's fun too. And then the people who just don't have the math head to do it, right? So I'll sit and live bet these games. Chargers, Jaguars, whoever's down at halftime, that's who I like. I don't care who I like beginning of the game, but if you tell me the score is 20-10 at halftime or 17-7 at halftime, give me the team that's down by 10, not necessarily to come back and win, but give me 10.5 or 7.5 points or plus 3.5. Give me the live total over. Give me the team total over. There's so many things or the quarterback who's down to get more rushing yards over. And in this game also, Rams Seahawks, we saw last week, Seattle, when they're ahead, they've taken their foot off the gas a couple of times. They're not necessarily scoring in the fourth quarter when they're up by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to be up 27-7 against the Rams on the road, but whoever's behind at halftime, I expect adjustments to be made, and there's opportunities getting one of these teams maybe plus 7.5 or plus 10.5. That's where the money is made. But going into the game now, we're guessing if we say we like a side. So I think your answer of I don't know is the correct response. Enjoy the game. And maybe there's an opportunity at halftime to take advantage of something on the live markets.
Yeah, I can see that. Makes sense. Once again, I'm so confused about why this is just a 4:05 game. It seems so weird just for it to be marooned and like it's just in the middle of the schedule.
Start at 4:05.
Yeah, that's for sure. I agree with that.
How many games are at 1 o'clock? I didn't even count.
Let's count. So we have Packers 1, Bucks 2, Bengals 3, Texans 4, Bears 5, Panthers 6, Chargers 7. So it's 7.
So you know what? I like a 7 and 4. To me personally and selfishly, that's perfect because I have 7 TVs. So 7 is great. I don't like having 6 because then 1 doesn't get that final spot. When you go 8 and 3, that just makes me nuts because then I have a blank TV. I got to put on something else, and sometimes I'll put on another game that's just the same game, get a little automatic replay. 7 and 4 to me is ideal, but there's no reason why games are starting at 4 or 5. You're going to miss the first drive. It's like, wait a second. Oh, it's 4:08. What just happened?
I hate it.
And there's a game going into overtime, and I'm going to find myself having to watch the end of Texans Titans for some reason with Spiro Ditas on the call and not getting a chance. And the Niner game, my Niner game is also 4:05. I think it's 4:05. Pretty sure.
Yes. Yeah. It's also 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So now there's 2 games starting at 4 or 5. That's a disaster.
Yeah, I get why they do it, but it's just stupid. I hate it, but I understand. It does make sense for the archaic TV people who only have Fox and CBS.
We talked about before the ideal schedule. So when you're the commissioner, we're going to have 2 games at 12, 2 games at 3. And then we're going to skip the 6 o'clock hour, take a break, 6 to 8 for dinner and gym or whatever, 8 to 11, and then 11 to 2. That's
Love
ideal.
it. Love it.
2 games in every 3-hour time slot. The 11 to 2 window is perfect for us.
Yeah.
I would love the 11 to 2 spot.
Oh my God,
great window.
That'd be great. The NBA started to do that. They put the Nuggets at 11 o'clock the other night.
Listen, there's a Hawaii game. Hawaii games that start at 12 o'clock on a Saturday night. It's perfect.
That's true. Yeah, instead of putting a team in Europe, let's put a team in Hawaii. Let's do that.
Exactly.
We got those late games. I love it. Take that 9:30 a.m. start, people. Anyway, we have Niners. Your Niners at the Cardinals. This line is Niners -3. I don't know why this line moved up from 2.5 to 3. I was looking for an injury, and Ricky Pearsall was going to play. Is Purdy for sure coming back? I didn't see.
Yeah. Purdy's back.
Is he? Okay. Yep. Because the Niners website did not post their Thursday injury report yet. So,
did you check Matt Mayoko?
What'd you say?
You got to check Matt Mayoko.
Matt Mayoko, yeah. You mentioned it before. I usually just go to their websites, and some teams just don't publish their injury reports on time. The Redskins never published an injury report. Like not once this year have they published an injury report on the website.
Quarterback Brock Purdy will return to the starting lineup versus the Cardinals. Kyle Shanahan just said.
Okay, fair enough. That makes me like Arizona more. Because I don't trust Purdy to be healthy. We saw him come back against Jacksonville. He was awful. Like he did not look ready. Maybe he is now, but I'm willing to bet that he's not. Quarterbacks coming back from injuries in their first game usually don't do that well. Even Lamar Jackson, I know the Ravens cover against the Dolphins, but like in that first half, he just looks so rusty. Purdy hasn't played in a long time. So who's to say he's going to do well? And against an Arizona defense that's outside of that Seattle game, they've played pretty well this year. I think they're 12th in defensive EPA. Now they still might be missing Will Johnson, the corner, but their other starting corner, Max Melton, who was out last week, he's been limited both times with a concussion. So we'll see. He still has a clear protocol, but as long as he comes back, Arizona's going to have a healthier secondary and overall a good defense here to maybe slow down the Niners. And the Niners just have so many injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Kind of have to wonder how they're going to slow down Arizona. it's weird to say how they're going to slow down Jacoby Brissett, but really, like, Jacoby Brissett has played better than Kyler Murray. It's like, hey, Trey McBride's scoring touchdowns. He couldn't score touchdowns before. Now he's scoring touchdowns. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing well.
He's not playing.
Yeah, I saw DMP twice. I don't know if he was going to be
appendicitis. He's out.
Oh, he's appendicitis. Okay. Yeah, it says illness. It says on the website, it says illness. DMP twice.
He's out. He's been really
good. Okay. All right. So anyway, even still, I do like Arizona here. No Harrison kind of ruins that a little bit, but what do you think about this game? I think the Cardinals are the right side.
To me, this is a relatively easy handicap. I lowered the Niners. They're, to me, exactly an average team with Purdy. I agree that Purdy coming back may not be that much better than what we've seen from Mac Jones. Although, even though Mac Jones has played well, I still don't trust him in big spots. But what Purdy looked like before he went down, he was not good. He was sailing throws. He was making mistakes over the middle of the field. So even if you say the Niners are going to be good offensively, McCaffrey was very good against the Cardinals in their last game. They only scored 16 points. So how good could he have been? To me, this really is about the defense. And the defense is why my power rating got lowered so much. Throw the offense away. The defense is just non-existent right now. So Brissett, Murray, doesn't really matter. I make the line Niners -1 because my power rating is so much lower because of the defensive injuries. McBride will have a field day. The Niners don't have any linebackers. Every week it's like I'm looking at linebackers. I don't even know who these people are. And I'm a fan, and I follow the team religiously every single week. So when I'm looking at linebackers of names that I haven't seen ever and don't recognize, that's a problem. So I make the line 1. If you give me 3, I would take the Cardinals on the +3. I do think the Niners will find a way to win. It's still Shanahan. They still find ways to win these games. McCaffrey's still the best player on the field. So I think they'll be able to find a way, whether it's screen passes. Because we know Purdy can throw the screen passes to McCaffrey, and we know McCaffrey can take them to the house. I do worry about McBride. At 3, I would lean to the Cardinals, but I don't think this would be a contest play for me either way.
Okay. Is maybe just should put a maybe pile or not? Just
again, at 3, I think the Niners are going to win the game. I think the Niners will come out and win the game. I don't trust the Cardinals. I know Brissett has looked better. Again, who has he looked better against? Right, Dallas. To me, that doesn't really count. So right. I'm looking at the Arizona wins. Let's see. Let me quickly pull up the Arizona schedule. So, yeah, the Green Bay game. Green Bay has been a weird defensive team. Their potential is so much better than what they've shown. Brissett played well in that game. They covered against the Colts but lost. Obviously, the blue game against Tennessee, that wasn't Brissett. The Dallas game, I don't put any weight into. We were dead wrong about that game, but Dallas's defense is just so bad. Last week, they were down 35-0 before they said boo. The Niners also were getting blown out, and both of them, to their credit, fought. I expect this game to be a close game. I expect this game to be like a 23-20, 24-23. So, yeah, I wouldn't lay 3 with the Niners for sure, but I wouldn't want to be on the Cardinals side. I don't trust them.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Ravens at Browns. The Ravens are -7.5. What is Dylan Gabriel going to do here? Like, he couldn't move the ball against the Jets, and we know how bad that Jets defense is. Now he gets the Ravens, who, like, if you look at their season-long stats, their defense is ranked like 24th or something. But you can't really do that because they're missing half their defense for from weeks 3 through 6, and then they have their bye week 7. So if you look at their stats week 8 onward, they are 7th in defense. Also 9th in offense. So there are only a handful of teams that are top 10 in both offense and defense, and the Ravens are there. Just in this 3-week sample size so far. There are only 5 teams in the NFL, by the way, who are top 10 in offense and defense. So the Ravens are right there with the other 4 teams, and anytime you get a bad quarterback or a horrible quarterback against the top 10 defense, you automatically have to consider fading that quarterback. Now there might obviously there going to be other circumstances, like spot, etc., like maybe other matchups, but really I just don't see how you play the Browns here. It just seemed like such a big mismatch with Dylan Gabriel versus Baltimore's defense. The Ravens beat the Browns in a blowout in week 2 when Flacco was the quarterback. And we know, obviously, Flacco way better than Dylan Gabriel. that was off a huge win against Buffalo, or that game against Buffalo where they lost, but still like a grueling game against Buffalo. So like it didn't seem like a great spot, and yet they came out sluggish, and yet they still won by 20 plus. So now they get Cleveland, where they get a chance to improve to 500. They have the motivation for that. And if Pittsburgh loses, they can tie the division. I'm sure they'll be hyped up. Even if they don't, they know they have to win to keep pace with Pittsburgh. I do think the spot is there for Baltimore. It's not like an amazing spot, but like I just think the matchup is just so favorable for Baltimore here. I like the Ravens a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the only way to look in this game is Baltimore. I am concerned with Baltimore's ability to move the ball in this game. They were not great moving the ball last week. They only had 2.1 yards per carry, 21 carries for 45 yards, and they settled for a bunch of short field goals. So that's a little concerning. And the Browns obviously have a good defense. But somebody asked before, what does Tennessee do well? They're not the number 32 ranked yards per play offense. They're slightly ahead of the Cleveland Browns.
There you go.
Dylan Gabriel can't play football. Now, in that Flacco game you mentioned, Dylan Gabriel came in at the end of that game and 3 for 3 for 19 yards and a touchdown. So he led a touchdown drive in that 41-17 blowout. And in that 41-17 blowout, the Ravens didn't really do much offensively. A lot of that was short fields, turnovers that created short fields. They had a block punt that created a short field in that game. So you can't really fault them for having short fields. That's what the offense had to work with, and they scored touchdowns. Lamar threw 4 touchdown passes. So for me, I'm worried that they're not going to move the ball well, but I know that Dylan Gabriel is not moving the ball at all.
Right.
They just can't. There's nothing they could do. They're completely one-dimensional. He can't throw the ball deep. He'll be rushed. You mentioned the motivation. Baltimore getting back to 500, I think, is a no-brainer against the number 32 ranked offense. Again, another team where I would bet the team total under. I think is a great play here. I don't think the Browns score more than 13 points. I think that's probably generous. I could see this game being like 24-6. Maybe they get a late touchdown at the end and make it 24-13. Team total, we're looking at an over-under of 39. So we're looking at like a 24-16 type of game. I think their over-under will be like 16.5. I like the under for Cleveland in the game. And I would. Do I want to lay this as a contest pick at 7.5? I don't love it at 7.5, but I would definitely be on the Ravens side.
Okay, so is it a maybe, I suppose?
Yeah, I would tell you to put it in the maybe pile. I don't have this as a potential pick for me for the Super Contest because, again, similar to Houston, you're laying points on the road. I think both of those teams are very similar, right? It's two teams, Houston and Baltimore, where I fully expect them to win. They both need the games desperately. Both of them are they both a game under 500 right now? Checking my standings.
They're both 4 and 5. Yeah.
Okay, so they're both 4 and 5. They're both going to win the game. They both need the game like blood. But you're talking about backing two offenses that don't score a lot of points, or I shouldn't say the Ravens don't score a lot of points, but they haven't played well. Even in the Miami game, they didn't look great. I know they put up 28 in that game, but they didn't look great doing it. Last week held to a lot of field goals. But again, it's really about the defenses against those two offenses, Tennessee and Cleveland. So if you ask me which one I like better, I probably like Houston better, just given the line being 6.5 instead of 7.5. And also, well, they're both divisional games. So I kind of lean towards both of the favorites, but I think there's other games that I would put ahead of them.
Okay. With $10 super chat for Kevin Kovac. Thank you once again, Kevin. Really appreciate it. He says Andrew Berry was in the Browns building in 2017 when they tried out Kaiser, Hogan, and Kessler. What a law firm that is. He learned absolutely nothing because he arranged another quarterback room that makes you go WTF going into 2025. Yeah. What was the thinking with the Browns here? Going with Flacco, Gabriel, and Shador. With Watson lingering, maybe playing late in the year. Like what was the thinking here? I don't get it. I don't understand. I really don't understand. Maybe he's trying to tank for the quarterbacks this year. I don't know. It's astounding how the Browns like repeatedly year after year they just keep screwing it up. And like the only times they've done well recently was when they had Baker Mayfield and they let him go. So yeah, I guess they kind of deserve it. So it sounds like they're trying to get Deshaun Watson back. So that's anyway. He's terrible, but at least he's better than Dylan Gabriel. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the report that the owners want Shedeur Sanders to play, but Kevin Stefanski does not want to play Shedeur Sanders. So they have an impasse right now. So
interesting.
Yeah. Something has to give, I guess. Anyway, Kimmy Eagle says, with Seattle playing the Rams and Kansas City playing in Denver, who the hell is going to watch this game? You mean the Ravens Browns? Yeah, I mean it's a little weird to put them at 425 because usually the Fox or CBS, whoever's at the 425 win the game. That's usually the best game of the week because they save it. Like they have certain games where they kind of like seal it so it's not flexed. And so like I don't know who has this game. Let's just say it's CBS, for example. Like CBS has this one. It's their top game. But like, so why are they also airing Ravens Browns at the same time? Because that's also going to be the same network. Because like it's the other network that does the 405 one. So in this case, if it's CBS, Fox is going to have the Rams, Seahawks, and the Cardinals, Niners. So like I don't. That's so weird that they would put Ravens Browns to 425. There must be some other conflict, like something going on in Cleveland at 1:00 or something. Like I don't know. I really don't know. It's very strange. So
I was just looking at the announcer schedule. So my friend Spiro Ditas is doing the Chargers Jaguars game.
Nice.
I'm going to make sure that game has no volume on it. Who else is doing games? You got Iron Eagle, who I really like, with J.J. Watt in Buffalo. Kevin Harlan. So that Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game is going to be close because every game Kevin Harlan calls is close.
That's true. Yeah.
Nance and Romo obviously are doing the Chiefs game.
Okay, so that's CBS, right?
So that's CBS game. Andrew Carroll, Charles Davis, and Jason McCourty. They got a booth of 3 in Baltimore, Cleveland.
Nice.
Who's doing? Are doing Minnesota-Chicago game. Drew Brees is making his debut with the Packers and Giants.
Nice.
Who's doing Nettie with Brady Quinn doing Carolina-Atlanta? Maybe that should get no volume.
we need that Carolina announcer back, whoever that guy was.
Yeah. So, he's doing basketball. The Rams Seahawks game again, Greg Olsen. So that's good. He's great. Olsen is awesome.
Okay, so that's the number one team, right? Burkhardt, Olsen, right?
No, it's Burkhardt Brady is your number one team.
Oh, Burkhardt, right. That's right. I forgot about Brady. So what game is Brady doing then? It's the
Minnesota.
Okay, so that's their top game. Interesting.
That's their top game this week. Yep.
Yeah, which is not the top game because it was really Rams Seahawks, which is strange.
Right.
Yeah. I don't get the schedule. I really don't. I don't get what these networks are doing here. So I don't know. Ravens led 20-10 entering the fourth quarter in first meeting. Yeah, I didn't think it was a good spot for Baltimore just coming off that crazy game against Buffalo. And again, it was Flacco, not Gabriel.
Tennessee started no video feed. You need a video feed. You just don't need to have the announcers behind you.
It'd like do like cartoon characters, like you're imagining.
The truth is, though, and I don't know how many people are crazy enough to rewatch the games like I do, but when you rewatch the games, you can hear some of these announcers and how stupid some of them really sound.
Yeah,
like, there was a game a couple of weeks ago where it was Adam Archuleta, of course, with Spiro Ditas. I forget which game it was that Carolina was coming back to win. Maybe it's like somebody was going to kick a game. They were going to kick a game-winning field goal, or a field goal would have won the game. And they said they're not even going to attempt the field goal. They're going to try to win the game with a touchdown. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, they're down by 2. I forget. Oh, that was the Tennessee Arizona game.
Okay.
When Tennessee was coming back and they needed a field goal to win it late. Like, they're not even going to go for the field goal. They're going to try to win it right here with a touchdown. It's like, dude, they're down by 2.
Oh man, yeah, I don't understand like some of these announcers. But the Houston Tennessee audio feed keeps you awake, video feed puts you to sleep. Yeah, maybe they air the game on Lifetime or something. I don't know. Or they'll preempt it with was that was that show or movie that preempted that one game back in the day? It wasn't Annie. It was I forget what it was. Annie definitely knows. It was they took an NFL game off the air and they put something else on.
Oh, the Heidi game.
Heidi, there it is. They'll preempt Houston, Tennessee with Heidi. Just the laws on.
That's before our time.
Right. Yeah,
that was in the 70s.
Yeah. That Heidi, yeah, and a new Andino, yeah, yeah, that was before we were born. Anyway, so the supposedly game of the week here, according to the broadcasting networks, the Chiefs are at Denver. The Chiefs are -3.5. Um, Andy and I had a big disagreement here, although Andy, I believe Denver is one of his, or maybe his top play. I like Kansas City, like for a slightly moderate amount. So I'm not crazy about this game, but I did make the line a lot higher than this. I'm curious to hear what you have the line, because I made this line 6.5. Kansas City minus 6.5, and I did factor in Andy Reid off a bye, which I give like a full point to. But I really don't like this Denver team. I know they have a great record. They're 8-2, but Bo Nix is just, man, he's so bad sometimes. Like, his footwork is awful. Like, it just leads to some horrible throws. I know he said like some really good fourth quarters, against the Giants, for example. Eagles came back. It seems like maybe he does well when he's not thinking as much, but it seems like he's just thinking too much at times in the first three quarters, and it really causes his footwork to be bad, and then he just throws horrible passes. Plus, Patrick Surtain's not going to be in this game as well, so that affects Denver's defense. And I like Kansas City coming off a loss and the bye. Like, they've had a week plus to stew about this. I guess like 2 weeks to stew about this, and you have Mahomes. I mentioned before, elite quarterbacks off a loss. Mahomes 14-9 against the spread off a loss. Andy Reid, I believe 19-12 against the spread off a bye. He's just one of these coaches who can really take advantage of it. And yeah, I think Kansas City is much better than they were last year, which is strange to say because their record is a lot worse. But I'd like at least their offense. At least to say their offense is better than it was last year. They just are capable of much more because Rashee Rice is playing. Xavier Worthy is fully integrated. Travis Kelce actually looks in shape. They're blocking, which is the key here. The blocking is much better, which bodes well against Denver. Denver has the number one pressure rate in the NFL, or the most pressures in the NFL. I think Seattle has a better pressure rate because they play fewer games. But so yeah, I like Kansas City here. What do you think about this game?
Everything that I researched and looked at and thought about points to Kansas City. So it's weird that I kind of like Denver. Now, my power rating makes the game 5, but I just in my head kind of felt to make an adjustment to 4. So I'm not surprised that the market right now is 4. The contest lines are both 3.5. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting that both lines are 3.5, but the market right now is 4 across the board. I do agree that Kansas City off of the loss and the bye makes more sense. Obviously, they still need the game. Or are they 5-4?
Yeah, 5-4. Not in a playoff spot right now.
Not in a playoff spot. We said 2 weeks ago that, and people contradicted me and didn't like my thought process of Kansas City going into Buffalo with a very vanilla game plan. And they went into Buffalo with a very vanilla game plan. And Mahomes didn't rush a single time. And that was a bet that we actually made the next day. We didn't even talk about that on the show, but I texted you the next day thinking, Mahomes, 4.5 rushing attempts? That sounds too good to be true. And then he had an absolute 0. So that's how you kind of know that they just went into that game thinking very vanilla. Denver off of another lucky, pathetic win. Besides for Chicago, the most overrated team in the league, a team that should not be 8-2. At best, they should be 6-4. They likely should be more like 5-5 or even 4-6. Now, remember, this is a team that beat the Jets 13-11, where the Jets, for some reason, didn't want to even attempt a long field goal. Now, I'm not suggesting the Jets would have made a 58 or a 60-yard field goal, but at least attempt it. Instead, on 4th and 8, they tried to throw the ball with Justin Fields, so that ball fell incomplete. What a shocker. Bo Nix last week, 2 more picks. Should have been 3, maybe even 4. They were 5 for 15 on third downs. They were under 4 yards per play against the Raiders. They had 9 3-and-outs last week, including a drive that started on the Raiders' 12 and went 2 yards backwards where they had a field goal. So they're benefiting from all this fluke and luck. And last year, we talked about Kansas City winning all these close games. This year, every single one of Kansas City's wins have been by margin, by a wide margin. So, and Denver has, they've been exactly the opposite. They've been getting lucky and winning every single one of these close games. One of the things that I saw now, going back with these Denver games for recently with Kansas City, the last 10 times they've played, let's throw out last year, week 18. Kansas City's 8-1 straight up, including that win last year where they had the blocked field goal. But Denver is 6-3 against the spread. So even though Denver is losing those games, they're covering. And with all the luck that's happening this year, just for some reason, I have in my head that Denver is going to find a way to backdoor this game. They're going to score late. They'll be down 10. They'll score. They'll get it. They'll be down by 3, and Kansas City will find a way to run out the clock. I do worry about Kansas City running the ball and running out clock because they don't really have a run game, and Denver's defense is pretty good. So let's call it like it is. Denver's defense is a top 5 defense. Kansas City, they took care of business against Detroit. They took care of business against Baltimore. They obviously didn't against Buffalo. I would expect Kansas City to win this game by a field goal. So I lean to the Broncos. I've been pretty good this year with Bronco games. I've pointed that out a few times where we've gone against them. I've picked my spots to be on them. For some reason, I feel like this line should be what it is, that 3.5, 4 range, even though my power rating makes it a little bit higher. And even though I acknowledge, as I've said many times, how overrated Denver really is. And we know how good Kansas City is off the bye and the loss, and they need the game. But I just think this game's going to be close. I don't know why. I just think this game's going to be close. I would be on the Denver side.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Just a gut. It's more of a gut feeling, despite what, all the things I've pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm going to be on an island here where you and Andy are on Denver. I like Kansas City, but again, not a big play for me. How much do you like Denver?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a contest pick, but right. I don't know how much I like Denver. Will I bet Denver? No, I wouldn't bet Denver.
Okay,
but I wouldn't like Kansas City 3.5. I feel like for the rest of the season, I'd be on the Kansas City minus 3.5, lose on something fluky, and be pissed off afterwards.
That does sound like
I could see this game being stupidly close. Denver's at home. The crowd's going to be fired up. I just don't trust Kansas City right now to go on the road in this game and win by margin. And I'm going to be very happy when they do. If they come out here and dominate this game and it's 24-13 and Denver can't do anything, and this is one of those games where Denver's not going to find their way back like they did against Philly or the Giants, and Kansas just takes care of business, and Nick's again is 2 for 11 throwing the ball downfield, or he's not even attempting going downfield, and he's got the happy feet, and Mahomes is just fine. Mahomes is scrambling. Mahomes hits Kelsey over the middle. Rashee Rice is open. They're just making plays. There's no one who can cover. They're going to attack Riley Moss all game. The game plan will just be completely in Kansas City's favor, just like the Kansas City-Detroit game or Kansas City-Baltimore game where they dominated that game. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would think that Denver shows up at home, and for some reason, I just feel like the back door is open in this game. It could be Denver ahead, and Kansas City finds a way to come back and win. It wouldn't surprise me either, but I wouldn't lay the Kansas City this week. I don't know why. Just have a gut feeling that this game's going to be very close.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be on our card. We have Dick Tracy here, a big fan of the site and the show. Do you clowns know that Seattle has given up the fewest sacks all year? Yeah, because they play so many tough teams. 9 in 9 games. Vikings offensive line was so bad that LA sacked Arnold 9 in one game. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. Ignorance annoys me, and Walter is ignorant and a moron. Well, we
totally agree.
Yeah, I am. Hold on, I am a moron. Am I ignorant? No, because I did mention that stat where Darnold got killed in that game against the Rams. I actually talked about that. Seattle is the most pressures through 9 games in the history of tracking pressures since 2009. I just mentioned Seattle is the highest pressure rate. More ignorance about things you just mentioned 5 minutes ago. Seattle is with JSN and Shaheed will torch.
I thought I said I liked Seattle. I did give Seattle credit. I thought, listen, they play the schedule that they play, but I told you they dominated the schedule.
Well, hold on.
I have the number. Where do you have Seattle in your power rankings right now? Because I have them number 7. I don't know. Forget your group. Where are they number wise?
They're 6.
You have them 6th, so you have them ahead of where I have them.
Yes, but I have the Rams.
Who do you have ahead of Seattle?
Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia, LA Rams, Detroit.
Okay, so I have the Ravens ahead of Seattle also.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I don't think you can claim ignorance. We both have them as top 7 teams that are contenders. If they win this game, they're very likely the 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And I even said, like, we just haven't seen it. Like, I could see Seattle win this game. More ignorance. Seattle with Jason and Shaheed with torch that LA secondary. You guys are so ignorant. So Shaheed barely did anything offensively last week.
No,
He was
I think Shahid's going to be a big factor in that offense. And
I do too.
we
I
didn't discuss
yeah.
about Seattle is Clint
So,
Kubiak.
oh, he's
Because
great.
Kubiak was last year with Shahid, obviously. Kubiak was really good early. Remember when we were talking about how good New Orleans might be offensively first couple
Mhm.
of weeks of the season? That's the Shanahan tree. Kubiak's done an amazing job. I think there's a lot of things about Seattle. Their offensive line is so much better than what we thought going in, which is huge because one of the things I didn't like about Seattle going into the season was the offensive line. And we said Darnold behind a bad line is a bad play. But if that line plays the way they're playing and Darnold's protected and he's got the accuracy and time to throw the ball downfield, then this team is actually very dangerous. Now, they like to run the ball. They're actually very inefficient because they like to run the ball a lot, but they've been one of the bottom teams yards per carry running the football. But they've been so good throwing the ball downfield. Like I said, almost 10 yards per attempt. It's like literally every time they drop back to pass, it's a first down.
Mm.
That's pretty incredible to, where they
Yeah.
are. They're so far ahead of the pack passing that it's masked the deficiencies running the ball. They're 29th in the league at 3.8 yards per carry. So they like to run the football, but they're inefficient when running the football. But the passing game, because of that offensive line, really starting with the offensive line, has been great. So I'm very excited to watch this game this week. I think this game is going to be very, very telling. And if they can't pass protect against a good team, then you're right, and we're going to have to drop them a little bit. But I don't think they're going to drop that much. Even if they lose this game, let's say they lose the game 27-20, right? It's somewhat competitive. The Rams control the game. It's not like I'm lowering Seattle that much. I mean, I have the Colts right behind them, and the Colts have a tough schedule, so they're going to really have to prove it over the next couple of weeks. And then I have the Patriots number 9. So I don't think, even if Seattle gets blown out, even if the game is 31-13, I still don't think I would drop Seattle enough that they'd be out of the top 10, at least right now. Let's see them lose this game and then go on the road and lose to Tennessee next week. Then we'll talk about lowering Seattle out of the top 10.
Sure. Yeah.
For now, I think we're both very high on this team, despite the caution flags about who they've played. Seattle is an absolute worthy team of being a top 10 contender.
Yeah, like I said, they just haven't proven it over their opponent, but they've been very impressive. Otherwise, the best part about this trio of comments here, can't compare Darnold at Vikings and Seattle. Pathetic. Toss up, take the points. Which is like basically what we said.
I think at this point he's just trolling you.
I think so too. It's funny because that's like what we said. We're like, toss up, I don't know, take the point, or like I'm like, I don't know, man. I kept saying I don't know 5 times. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm taking the Rams. Like, I don't feel too strongly about this game. That's like, and then he says the same thing basically. He's like, toss up, take the points. That's great. Congratulations, Dick Tracy, on your troll. It's great. Yeah, games versus Ravens. Lions are playing Kansas City. I like Kansas City, Denver under.
I have the game 23-20. What's the over-under in the game?
45.
Okay.
45, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. I had the Rams number 1, Seattle number 2 with difference in less than 1 point.
In the power ratings overall?
I think so. Yeah, Andy said that yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Is it?
That's crazy. Seattle number 2 in the league?
Yeah, I mean, well, if they beat the Rams, where do you put them if they beat the Rams by like a touchdown?
If they beat the Rams, I would upgrade Seattle, and then I'd have to see what Eagles and the Ravens do. I'd probably maybe bump them a point, maybe lower the Rams a point, and probably flip them. So maybe Seattle goes into number 5, depending on the Ravens and Eagles. Same mix.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have them. I don't care what Seattle or what Buffalo or Kansas City or the Lions do this week. I'm not ready to move Seattle into the top 3 or 4.
Okay.
And that's probably because, again, they've proven it against the schedule they've had. But now let me see you beat a couple of high quality, high class teams. Buffalo, to their credit, beat Kansas City.
Right.
The loss to New England is not as bad. Doesn't look like as bad of a loss right now. The Miami game is just a complete letdown. It's like, what do you do when they lose to Miami? Lower them into the 15? What are we, like ESPN right now? Right? Like ESPN is going to have Miami like ranked 12th. right? And Buffalo is going to be in the 15 range. I think I texted you a picture like, oh, I'd like to bet against this person's lines.
Yeah. You. It's not ESPN. It's Pro Football Talk.
Whatever.
Mike Florio, who ranked Chicago over Kansas City.
Right. Exactly. Could somebody have Chicago and play Kansas City and give me Kansas City as an underdog? I'd love it. No, that's like again, you're not looking at ESPN rankings here. Go look at Vegas should rank everything. Vegas should be the end all be all on the college football playoffs, the standings. I mean, sometimes it's a shame because every year there's bad teams that don't belong in the playoffs that they play their schedule and they get in. It is what it is, but you don't have sometimes the best teams. I don't see how you can have Seattle ranked number 2 right now in the league.
Let's see. You can only beat who you play. Results trump potential. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just, but we haven't seen it though. I don't know. I mean, I did have Seattle ranked a lot lower a few weeks ago, which is why I'm saying like I just don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if they clobber the Rams, like then you have to rethink it. So
3 weeks ago I had Seattle at +1.5. Now I have them +5. That's a massive move. So for me, that's called not being stubborn. That's recognizing my ratings were too low, i.e. wrong, right? They don't deserve to be +1.5. I have them +5. The Jags beat the Chiefs. Great. Okay, right. So let's use that as an example. If the Jags played the Chiefs this week, who's favored? The Chiefs. There's no disputing that. Everybody knows the Chiefs are favored. Does that mean the Chiefs are going to beat the Jaguars again? No, it doesn't mean anything. If these teams played 10 times, the better team is not going to win 10 times. The better team might not even win more than 7 times. That doesn't mean the power rating should change dramatically because of the result of one game with a very small sample size. So you can't just overreact. Seattle's won a lot of games. They've played very well. Their power rating has adjusted accordingly, but they're not better than the Chiefs. They're not better than the Eagles. They're not better than the Bills. And if those teams played 10 times, they wouldn't win 6 or 7 of those times, right? Or I should say they shouldn't win in a larger sample size. They wouldn't win 60 to 70% of the times. Now, obviously, it's not a practical argument because they're not going to play 60 times. It's not an NBA playoff series where a team plays best of 7, right? They're going to play once, maybe twice in a season. Or if it's a divisional game, twice, maybe 3 times in a season. So there's no way to prove that argument. But Vegas's power ratings should prove enough, especially for us who know what Vegas is like. You know that Jacksonville's not going to be favored over Kansas City. And frankly, right now, Seattle wouldn't be favored over Buffalo or Kansas City. So to have them 1 or 2, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Kansas City Jacksonville line would be. I mean, Kansas City's 4 at Denver. What would they be at Jacksonville?
Right. Kansas City's -4 in Denver. I have Kansas City +8 right now.
Yeah, right. Which I would love to see a Titans and Chiefs line, basically rankings. That would be 20 and a half or 21.
19. Right?
Yeah,
so that doesn't exist, right? Because we know Kansas City wouldn't win by 19 unless they play the Raiders. They really care to humiliate that team.
Right.
They don't care about humiliating Tennessee. It's not relevant to them. But if they play Jacksonville, I would make Kansas City a 9.5 point favorite on a neutral field. And they were up 14-0, and they just dropped a pick where they had 2 guys standing under the ball looking for it, and they just dropped it.
Right. That was we were both highly motivated by watching that game because we had that in the car, and that was very tilting that they just dropped that. Like 3 guys could have caught that interception and said none did. So it was brutal. Rick Darcy says Zona is actually a decent team, was beating the Colts and Indy. Yeah, I mean, we said Arizona we have as an average team, or at least I do. I have them Group C. They're just average,
they're not. I have them as a -2.
Okay, well I have them. Where do I have them in my power rankings? I have them.
20.
You have them what?
20.
I'm 21st. So okay, so it's funny. You're a little higher, even though I just said they're average. I mean, Group C is just average. Let's see, and what it says: DeMarcado tossing touchdown the end zone before crossing. Seattle's up 35-0 in second. 4 games, teams have scored 30+ in the first half. Seattle's done that 3 of 4. They've been really impressive. It's just they haven't played anyone. Point is, they have not played a team above average. Like that's the problem. They played a bunch of average teams or worse, but they haven't beaten anyone above 18th in my power rankings, whereas Arizona's 21st. So that's what we're saying. Yeah, Seattle slapped them bad. Yeah, because you don't watch the games to try to corroborate with win-loss records. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Evan. I guess I don't watch the
I don't
games.
watch football.
I don't watch football. I haven't seen any. I haven't. Guys,
I check box scores.
Guys, I'm sorry. I don't even check. I don't even check box scores. I don't watch anything. What is a football? I don't know. Anyway, we have Lions at Eagles. The Sunday night game. Eagles are -2.5. I mentioned earlier how there are two quarterbacks who really struggle when under pressure. Sam Darnold, one of them, despite what Rick Darcy wants to believe, it's in the stats. Sam Darnold's his stats when he's pressured just way worse. His completion percentage drops 30%. His YPA drops by 5 yards per attempt. Jared Goff is the other one. Like Jared Goff, when under pressure, his completion percentage drops like 31%. His YPA is like 2.5 yards or so, or actually I think it's 3. So he gets a lot worse, and I mentioned that because the Eagles bring a ton of pressure. They're not in the Denver-Seattle category in pressures, but I think they could eventually approach that area because they added Jalen Phillips. They get Nolan Smith back from injury. They got Brandon Graham back from retirement. There were a couple games with Jalen Carter didn't play because of stupidity. And so this team just has a lot of potential with their pass rush. So I think Jared Goff could be feeling it in this game. And we know Detroit needs to run the ball for Jared Goff to be at his full potential. And the Eagles are pretty good at stopping the run. So I think Detroit's offense could struggle in this game. Also, another thing that could go against Detroit, I'm a big fan of looking at the weather, but I have to look at the weather when Jared Goff is playing outside. And it's looking like, the last I checked, there was like 30 to 40% chance of rain in Philadelphia on Sunday night, and Jared Goff in the rain is just a disaster. So I like the Eagles here. I don't love it, but I would take them against the Lions. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I made my line here in the game is 1. I think the Lions are the better team, but the situation and the spot and the venue and the fact it's at night, I lean to the Eagles. Detroit's coming off a very, very emotional win for them. I know it doesn't sound like that is the case, but that was the game circled on their calendar. They weren't concerned this year with the Packers. That's why, week 1 kind of came out like a dud. New coordinators. The game that they really had in mind was Washington because of what happened in the playoffs last year. This was the game that was supposed to have happened, even though we would go back in time. I liked Washington in that game, getting the points. I thought they were a live dog, but the football fan in me wanted the better game, the best game. Would have been Eagles in Detroit. And in Detroit, I think it's a huge advantage for Detroit as a faster offensive team. On the grass in Philly at night, we saw what the Eagles just did to Love. They pressured Jordan Love on 17 of his 42 dropbacks. That's over 40% of his dropbacks. Love was 3 for 12 for 21 yards on those plays. You mentioned the struggles that Goff has had against pressure. If the Eagles are going to put that kind of pressure on him and limit their run game, I think the Eagles – I don't think they win this game easily. I think they're going to win this game by a field goal because I've been disappointed with Philly's offense. Now, also, they have some injuries on the offensive line. That's something to pay attention to. Lane Johnson was in and out of the lineup last week. Obviously, him playing would be very important. Mailata's in, and he's one of the best left tackles in the league, but it'd be nice to have Lane Johnson as well. I think this game is going to be a very, very good game, very similar to Seahawks-Rams. I lean to the Eagles. Again, if this line were 3, I'd probably say let's stay away from it. But at 2.5, I do like it, even though my power rating makes the game 1. I have the Eagles, like I said, higher ranked. But the situation, the spot, the fact that Detroit's coming off of that game last week where they kind of put a lot into it. They ran up the score. They changed the play caller. Campbell really wanted to shove it down the Redskins' throat, and they did. And we'll have to pay attention to weather. But if it's cold, if it's a windy night in Philly, I think Philly's defense will be the ones who win this game. So I like the Eagles laying 2.5. I don't love it as well. I think they're going to win the game by probably a field goal, maybe 4, maybe 6, one-score game for sure. I don't think they're running away with it, but I do like Philly. And if you like it as a potential maybe, I would potentially put this in the card.
It could be maybe for sure. It's a small bet for me. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for sure. So it looks like we're gonna have three definites, and well, unless you like the Monday night game. So gonna put this down. It's what is 2.5 in the contest? Yeah, 2.5 in the contest. Okay. Okay, so Andy says Seattle's the best Arvel in the
I
NFL
could
average.
absolutely care less about that. I know a lot of pros, and Andy, obviously, a very good one, who look at average margin of victory against the spread. To me, it's couldn't be more irrelevant.
Okay. You guys will see by season's end Seattle's Super Bowl caliber, and shocked you haven't
Got a
figured it
big
out this
Seahawks fan
season.
here. Oh my goodness.
We just had we had them 6th and 7th in our power rankings. I think that we think they are Super Bowl caliber. Like any team that's Group A, Group B is a potential Super Bowl team. That's how I would read it. Obviously, Group A better chance than I have Seattle Group A right now.
Can you
So
imagine a Super Bowl of Sam Darnold against Daniel Jones? I know Andy put that up before.
Yeah, Andy. Yeah, the exact Seattle versus Indianapolis.
What was that exacta before the season started?
I don't know.
Crazy.
I would like to know. Yeah, Andy, if you know that, that'd be fun to hear that. This type of ignorance is so annoying. I expect more from Walter Bowles. Yeah, I knew he was a fan of the site. I wasn't joking. Great site and evaluations, and then lots of laughs here. Yeah, we're all having a good time. I don't know. We like Seattle. It just haven't proven it, but that's the thing. It's like they have to prove it, right? But they will. They'll have their chances. It's not like there's some mid conference college football team that is going to go undefeated and not get a chance to the playoffs, which used to happen before. They have their chances now, and
that's why this game is so big for the 1 seed, because the rest of their tough games are at home.
Yeah,
who Minnesota, Indy, and the Rams for the rest of the season are home games.
Yeah,
they're going to get to feast on Tennessee. I don't think Atlanta on the road, even that game is going to be much of a challenge for them. At Carolina certainly won't be a challenge. And the Niners, by that time, you and I might be able to play defense for the Niners in week 18. Every week they're just losing guys right and left. So to me, if Seattle wins this game, they're the favorites for the 1 team.
Yeah, I think so too. Arvel's mentioned exceeding expectations. Teams wins games, not quarterbacks. Yeah. I remember Kansas City got beat by Jacksonville on Monday night. Next week, Seattle goes to Jacksonville, dominates them more than the score. And I saw Kansas City struggle versus Washington in the first half. Kansas City on Monday night. Next week saw Seattle go to Washington. But yeah, as we're saying, Seattle versus Kansas City's going to be favored. Like there's no sportsbook that's going to have Seattle as a favorite over Kansas City on a neutral field, I should say.
And by the way, on a neutral field right now, I would have that line only 3.
3, yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah. Okay, so
in Kansas City, I'd probably have it closer to 4.5. In Seattle, I would have KC favored by maybe, let's say, 1.5.
Well, yeah, I was thinking 1 or 1.5. Yeah, I agree.
Which is a lot of respect for Seattle, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's Seattle. Kansas City is my top-rated team. To say that line would be close to pick 'em on a neutral field, or 3 on a neutral field, is a lot of respect for Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why your comment earlier about who have they beaten? It's like, okay, well, they're beating these teams. Talk about Andy's comment about, I don't know, what is it, Arvel? Yeah, they're dominating. They're playing very, very well. That's why my power rating for them has elevated 3.5 points in the last 2 weeks. It's a big jump. Yeah, let's see them win this game on the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's talking about Seattle versus Kansas City. You could do mental gymnastics with anything, really. Like Seattle lost to Tampa at home. Detroit crushed Tampa, and Kansas City crushed Detroit. So therefore, Kansas City's better than Seattle. If you just did it that way, you can't really say.
Yeah, but Arnold had 280 passing yards at halftime, and I took a 400 plus on the ladder, and he couldn't get there. Bum.
That's why he sucks. You can see why we're so down Seattle. Exactly. All right, the Monday night game, Cowboys at the Raiders. What a banger here! If only they could flex Seattle Rams into this. Cowboys minus 3.5. I said this yesterday, and I still maintain this position. I think this game is extremely difficult to handicap for two reasons. One is because Dallas has got new players on their team defensively, with Quinn Williams and Logan Wilson. We don't know how quickly they're going to integrate with that defense, but like really the tough thing is like how are they going to come back from the or just respond to the Marshawn Nealon death. We've seen it both ways over the years. When Sean Taylor passed away, the Redskins, they had a great game. They covered the spread. They looked like they're really playing for their guy. But then like when Corey Stringer passed away from Minnesota, Minnesota lost to a horrible Carolina team 24-13 in that first game. When Chris Henry died for the Bengals did not cover the spread either. They lost outright. So you just don't know. I don't know how the Cowboys are going to respond. If the Nealon stuff wasn't a factor, I think I would side with the Cowboys just because I think maybe their new defensive players, like if their defense right now is like, what's their defense EPA? It is 30th. So like if Quinn Williams and Logan Wilson take their defense from like 30th to like 22nd or something, then I think the Raiders like wouldn't be able to score it well like they would normally. And so but I think Dallas against the Raiders defense seems like a big mismatch. But again, I'm not anywhere close to betting this game. Do you have any good take on here in this game?
I don't know if it's a good take, but I like Dallas in the game. Now,
Okay.
I was on Dallas last week, or last time they played. It was a pathetic no-show home loss to Arizona, but I'm going right back to the well. I understand you can't handicap emotions, especially with a death on the team, but I think they're going to rally around that. I think there's going to be a spirited effort in this game for Marshawn Nealon. Obviously, the situation surrounding the death being suicide or being, I guess, what's allegedly a suicide. I guess there's no dispute on that, but especially with Dak and what he's dealt with in his past, I would imagine the team rallies around it. And I think that puts them together. They come together. There's a level of focus throughout the week that we're playing for our brother, we're playing for our teammate, and I can see this being a good effort, especially defensively. And that's where they've lacked effort throughout the season is defensively. So I think the guys who knew him, the guys who are going to play for him, they're going to play hard. There's an attention to detail. And it's not like they're playing the Chiefs or the Bills or the Seahawks. They're playing the Raiders, a team that has no offensive line, a team that Geno is hobbling around. He took 6 sacks last week, again, against a much, much better defense, no question about it. And it's Thursday Night Football, where we don't expect offense to be prominent. But they had 3.2 yards per play in that game. Their offense was absolutely non-existent. I think the line is fair. As a matter of fact, our circle line is 3.5, and the market's 3 with juice to the 3. But so it's not a good line. And it's a road game, although I would argue that the Raiders have probably, if it's not the worst home field, maybe the Chargers is the worst home field. The Raiders is probably right up there because you really don't have a lot of Raider fans. It's mostly a corporate casino fun crowd. Probably will be a lot of Cowboy fans in attendance, so I don't see this being real home field advantage for the Raiders. I would lay the 3. Again, at 3.5, I don't love it as much, and it's still a bad defense. Even if Williams makes them a bad defense instead of one of the worst defense, it's still not a good defense. There's still backdoor potential. I think this is a high scoring potential game, like a lot of Cowboy games are. What is the total here? 50. I don't know if I would play over 50. 50 is a lot, especially for Raiders. And that's kind of why I lean more towards Dallas. I think Dallas is putting up 30, 27 to 30 points. Question is, can the Raiders hang with them? If they can, I think if you like the Raiders, you like the over. If you like Dallas, you're probably not betting the over. So I'm not betting the over, but I'm leaning Dallas. I would take Dallas. Would I take it as a top 5 pick? No, it's not a top 5 pick for me. I have other games that are top 5. I mentioned we both like Green Bay, Cincinnati, Minnesota. Those are our definites. I like the Falcons. Again, I'm not sure if I would put the Falcons in. If I would put Miami in because it's international, I probably will because I do like Miami better than I like the travel spot for Atlanta. And Denver's more of a gut, so I'd probably take Miami over that. And then my last game would probably be Philly. So I probably wouldn't take Dallas as a contest pick, especially at Circa where it's 3.5. But I lean to Dallas in the game, and I think that the death of Nealand, unfortunately, will have a role in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know which way. Like, you could be right. Maybe they rally around it and play hard for their guy, but maybe they're maybe they just can't focus and are not going to have a good game plan prepared. So it could be either way. I just don't know how to handicap it. Like I said, I think it's the toughest handicap of the week. So I will not be betting this game, not pregame anyway. So we have the definites on screen. You mentioned Packers -7, Bengals +5.5, and Vikings -2.5. So we need two more, and these are the four maybes I have down for us. We have so that's gonna pull it up now. The Ravens -7.5 against the at the Browns. We have the Texans -6.5 at the Titans. Eagles -2.5 versus Detroit at home, and then Miami -2.5 against the Redskins in Spain. I would not. I would hope that we don't.
Houston, Philly, Miami. Okay.
Yeah, we need two here. I'm hoping that you don't push for Miami because I really don't want to.
I'm not going to push for Miami because I know how much you hate international, as do I.
Yeah.
I'm I'm kind of rooting for the Redskins in the game because I just find it funny to root against Tua. But I am debating playing the Dolphins over 6.5 wins.
Okay.
But that's more of a hedge against my under 7.5 and under 8.5. So the question is, like, I don't really need to hedge those. I feel like I have two winners, and the 6.5 probably comes down to this game, or at least one of the next three. Over 6.5, almost for me, assumes that they're going to win the next three games. I don't think they're winning late. Well, Pittsburgh, you never know because Tomlin is Tomlin.
Right.
That's a road game in Pittsburgh. The Cincinnati game could have Burrow back. I don't expect them to beat Tampa. And New England, my guess is New England will be fighting for either a 1 seed or the division in Week 18. So I don't think they're beating New England. I don't think they're beating Tampa. If Burrow's back, I don't think they're beating Cincinnati, although they could. That might be a high-scoring game. You never know. And then Pittsburgh, they'll be dogs in. I'll need them to win one of those four. But that's, again, assuming they win 3 in a row. So I may just play over 6.5 and not worry about this game and not worrying about having to cover. And again, we have no idea how teams are going to react. Do we even know what kind of field it is in Madrid?
I don't know anything about it.
Is there going to be weather? What
I don't know.
do you even know? What time is it in Madrid? What's the time difference?
I assume it was the same as London, like 5 hours ahead right now because the daylight savings time not being on. I think it's the 7th. Am I right? 7:20 a.m. Did you look? Time in Madrid.
8:20 a.m.
8:20 a.m. Okay, so it's 6 hours. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's too many unknown variables, like with how these teams are going to react traveling overseas. We don't, like you said, we don't know how the field's going to be. So I don't look as on a personal note. I don't want to stress about this game at all. I just want to
check it out.
Yeah. All right. So we have to choose between two.
It does say, for what it's worth, showers and spots in the afternoon.
Okay.
But who the hell knows if the weathermen know how to predict weather in Madrid? They probably do.
Anywhere. They can't predict weather anywhere. Look at these weather reports, like, oh, it's going to be this. It's like it's completely opposite like all the time.
Right. So if you have a game where it's raining, do you really want Tua throwing the ball in the rain?
I think, like, what is good a good spread percentage to be a good handicap. It's like 57% is like really good, right? And then if you're like 60%, it's like gold. What is the percentage of meteorologists predicting weather? Is it like 20%? They're great. Like, they never get anything right.
It's like a baseball hitter, right? If they're batting 300, they're great.
Right. Exactly. It's so bad. It's always wrong. Always, like, they can't get anything right. Okay, we need two of these three: Baltimore, Houston, Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, I've already told you Philadelphia is probably a top 5 for me.
Okay.
And the other two, I'm kind of indifferent on. I like Houston better just because the line is more favorable. Now, the line might not be more favorable because the market's 6.
Right. That's true.
So I'd rather lay under a touchdown than over a touchdown. And that's why I would rank one higher than the other.
Yeah. Okay, so we can lean toward Houston there, but if there's something in the injury report that takes me off Houston a little bit, then maybe go to Baltimore. It kind of
No,
play it
yeah,
that
you
way.
have to go on that. I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Okay, all right. We'll discuss this
The only
over.
game I really like this week, when it comes to like if you're betting a game and you're looking at a game pre-game, Minnesota.
Yeah, I love Minnesota too. One of my top two plays for sure. All right, so yeah, we have those four locked in, and then one of the other two, which we'll discuss. I'm sure Friday or Saturday. Let's finish up some comments before we head out. Andy says too many favorites being considered. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Unfortunately, it's been a favorite year
Yeah.
for me. I do like Denver as a potential pick. There's a lot of games that are lined at 2.5 or 3 exactly. So from a value perspective, like Jacksonville, if I were getting 3.5, I would consider Jacksonville. If we had 3.5 on the Cardinals or Seahawks, I'd consider those.
Yeah.
Um, I've gotten burned all year on taking teams like the Giants plus 4.5 or 6 or 7 and just losing outright. The Bucks is a team that I would have considered, but the rain throws me away.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, we're considering a lot of favorites. That's a frustrating thing. I would have liked. I always like my cards better when they're 3 or 4 dogs. But it is what it is. I mean, this is what the card has for us. The favorites this year are 80 and 69. I want to see what cover says against closing lines.
Yeah, I have 79 and 70 against the spread, so 53%.
Trends against the spread. Favorites are, according to covers.com, 81, 66, and 3, which is 55%. So you can make a living at 55%. Maybe not a great living, but you're winning money at 55%.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And last year, favorites were covering at an even higher rate. So, why are we considering underdogs when
away favorites 57%?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't. I mean, this is a long conversation for another time, but I think that these sports books really haven't made an adjustment to how bad teams react to not being able to practice as much in the new CBA. I just think the bad teams have it worse. Before 2010, you would routinely see like 1-7 teams beat 7-1 teams. Like that would happen. Right. Now it's like extremely uncommon to see that happen. It's the bad teams don't get to practice enough to be good or to be better than they normally would. So I think that has to be factored into. I'd rather take I used to be I'd look toward the underdog first over the favorite. Now I look favorite over underdog. I think
I still look dog. I mean, we know how hard Survivor is, so it's hard to win games, let alone win by margin.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just don't want to. And that's where I've gotten burned the last year and a half. I'm leaning towards these teams that I think are live teams, and they're simply not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to be on the Bengals, right? That's one of our definitive picks.
Right.
I think the Bengals are a live dog in the game. To me, it's a no-brainer for us to pick that in the contest.
Yeah, I think I've been very close to my rankings.
Last week, you didn't agree with me, but I was on Minnesota as a home dog of 4 points. I thought that line should have been under 3.
Yeah.
When I'm watching that game, it's 10-3. Minnesota controlled that game, but they fumbled 2 kickoffs. One of them they lost the fumble. McCarthy threw a bunch of picks. And then all of a sudden, they're down 19-10. They were up 10-3. Now it's 19-10. The Giants we covered, or I covered. No, you didn't take the Giants. I took the Giants. Plus 4.5. That was a cover all the way, even with the blown game. Who else we have as a dog last week? Eagles were dogs. We both said the Eagles should have been favored. Yes. And they should have been favored.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers, we thought we had at least in the Super Contest, had some line value, and they got blown out.
Yep.
And the Lions were, I thought, the easiest pick that I've seen in months.
Yeah, that was.
That line should have been. I had that power rated close to 13. And I know a lot of professionals that were like, no way. There's not that much of a difference between Mariota and Jaden Daniels. Yeah, but there's a difference between a defense that can play and a defense that can't. It's nothing to do with Jaden.
I can't believe people think that they're close together, those quarterbacks. That's insane.
Even if it's 4 points, even if it's 7 points, it's not about the 4 or the 7. That game was so easy to handicap. You knew going in that the Lions wanted to blow them out.
Right.
And they did. And you knew going in that the Redskins defense was non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
So putting up 40 was no surprise. There's no shock there. That's why you covered your 20.5.
Yeah. That was a nice one. Rick says, I bet against Green Bay they can't cover big spreads. At Browns, yeah, we
No
talked
question
about
about it.
this. We talked about that.
No
Yeah.
question about it. 100%.
However, they have not played a team as bad as the Giants yet. So you look at these teams; they're all like Group C, Group D. Arizona, you even said Arizona is a good team, Rick. Carolina's, we can discuss where they are, but like Group D, Browns are Group D, Cincinnati with Flacco Group D, but like the Giants without Dart, without Scatabo, without Neighbors, they are an awful team.
With Dart, I would have been on the Giants in this game.
Yeah, me too.
Just because of his running ability.
Yeah, but they also fired their coach and they don't have an offensive coordinator now. And this is a big mismatch. Giants run defense awful, 31st, and they're going against Josh Jacobs. So I this is I think a chance for the Packers to score here.
Now, we know what we're getting ourselves into with the Packers. They're overrated. We agree.
Yeah, for
sure. We know that they're 0-5 against the spread when they're favored by 6.5 or more. We agree.
Mm-hmm.
They only won 2 of the 5 games when they were favored by 6.5 or more points. So we know exactly what we're getting ourselves into. And yet, you know what they're going to do? They're going to win 34-13.
Yep.
So there's your minus 20.5.
Yeah, they beat Pittsburgh on the road by 10. So if they can do that,
27-13, and the Giants will be driving for a backdoor cover. And you know what will happen from the 20-yard line? Pick 6 going back 80 yards.
Yep.
27-20 is becoming 34-13, right on that Winston pick 6.
You know,
and Winston's going to walk off the field with a smile and a laugh and thank God, and he's awesome. And
yep,
a pre-game speech and a song and a dance. I think he's going to throw 3 interceptions.
It's going to be great. I love it. Dallas defense anytime touchdown. Gino pick 2. I mean, look, it depends what number you're getting.
That might not be a bad. I could see something crazy in this game, like an opening kick return for a touchdown. Remember that Bills game? When was that Bills game where they was it the first game that Hamlin was back, maybe? Where they returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and the stadium was like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
Yeah,
that hasn't happened. Like I had chills just watching that kick return. It's like sometimes you get like a little divine intervention.
It's against New England, right?
Wasn't it? I don't remember who it was against, but I remember it was like one of the first games. Maybe it was the first game after the Hamlin situation.
Yeah, it was New England week 18. Yeah,
week 18, they came back and had an opening kickoff return for a touchdown. There was something like crazy about it. The guy who scored it, I forget who got it. Who got that? Nyheim Hines, was he the one who got that touchdown?
I think it was Hines. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, maybe. Miami's in better current form and is healthier on offense. We're not too far removed from the Ravens destroying Miami. It was 2 weeks ago. Like they're in good form because Buffalo was a no-show. I don't necessarily agree with that. But look, if compared to Washington, perhaps Washington's a disaster. But I think Miami's horrible too. So 2 horrible teams playing against each other. It's not really a game I'm interested in. Jordan Love's overrated. No Kraft's a disaster. Love not good. Poor throws, poor decisions, poor footwork sometimes too. But he completed 20 passes in a row against the Steelers, and the Giants have an even worse defense. So.
Right. I think this game's going to be built. By the way, it was Nyheim Hines, and he had 2 kick returns for a touchdown in that game.
Yep. And I remember having the Patriots in that game. I was very tilted by that. Depends on how far out the weather forecast is made. Yeah, look, I mean, if it's the next hour, you could probably predict it, right? But like, it's you can't. I don't trust any.
You still can't because my wife is somebody who checks the weather reports like every second, especially when we're going away somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we were once in the Bahamas and she's looking at the weather and she's like, "Oh man, it says that it's going to rain." And we walked outside and it's sunny.
Right,
it's like, "Oh, the weather says it's raining." The app says it's raining. I'm like, the sun is out.
Yeah,
they don't even know what it is at the current moment.
They don't know. They don't know anything. I like Miami, too much speed for this. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good. Yeah, Miami HN versus that slow defense. Yeah, I get it, but it's these stupid international games. I just don't want to have anything to do with it. At the same time, the lines are low. The lines are lower than in the past. Teams that used to be favored by 6 are now favored by 4.5. Is that true? I know that a home field is worth less now, for sure.
Say the lines are lower now than in the past. It's very
Yeah,
possible because
yeah.
that's the team. There's a lot more parity in the league.
Mhm.
And yes, the home field is now generally 1.5.
Yeah. Everyone likes Philly. It's a sharp play. Detroit hasn't played that well on the road and lost to the Vikings, but I think Detroit upsets Philly. I take the 3.5. Well, I mean it's 2.5. I guess you're paying up. I guess bad teams are bad because of poor drafting and poor coaching. Yeah, that's true. But my point was that they don't have the practice time to get better. Like if you're a bad team, but you have a lot of practice time, you have a good chance to improve during practice. But you're not practicing. These teams are not practicing as much, and I think that's a huge factor. I don't lay big points in the road favorites like Baltimore, Green Bay. Yeah, I mean I get that philosophy, but I think that these teams have been better this year. And Evan, you said that these teams have done better, right? Um, as bigger road favorites.
Road favorites 57% against spread.
Yeah. So in the past year and a half, just looking at the past year and a half, you could take them road favorites of 6 or more, or 22 and 21 against the spread. So you can certainly take them. Right now, neutral field, I have the Lions favored by 12.5.
Over who?
Over the Eagles? Over who, Andy? Okay, so it's more of a gut with Detroit. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta go with your gut. The Packers winning 30-13 over the Giants. Okay. Maybe that's what maybe he meant. He's the Packers favorite by 12.5. Maybe that's what he meant. Over the Giants. Yeah, Philly wins at home. I don't bet on Green Bay ever. Is this Tom? I feel like Tom has said the same thing. And then there's something too. I don't know. Just love without Kraft. Yeah, I mean, look, love without Watson's bad. Love without Kraft is bad. At least he has Watson. If he didn't have Watson either, I think that'd be trouble. Over Washington, he says. Detroit over Washington. Oh, okay. So we're talking about the Detroit Washington game. So yeah, Andy had Detroit minus 12.5 over Washington. Yeah, I had 13.5. I know you. Yeah, you had a high number too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had 11.5.
We all love that game. It was great. I wish we had a game like that every week. It'd be great. Yeah, no lines minus 12.5 over Washington. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. Yeah. No, I had it minus 13.5 in Washington. Detroit being favored. That was my number. So
I would have right now without McLaurin, neutral field, power rating 14.5, but 14.5s automatically become 13. So if you gave me neutral field Lions Washington, I go 13.
10. I would have it 7. I would have it 17 on a neutral field. Detroit versus Washington. Yeah, I think so.
That's because I made adjustments after last. But again, the situation was trumped power ratings.
Yeah, right. Oh no, sorry. I would have it 14.5. Wait, no, 15 on neutral field. That yeah, there you go. I'd have it 15 on neutral field. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. So thanks guys for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Let's hope we go 5-0 this week. It would be sweet because we went 4-1 last week, and this is the third quarter in the Circa Millions. Would love to go 18-2 or something. That I think that we'd win that 17-3. I think we'd have a good shot too. Okay, I have Seattle beating Baltimore's Super Bowl future. Nice. That's cool. I think that could hit. All right, guys. Yeah. So once again, thank you so much for watching, commenting. Especially thank you to Kevin Kovac for the $10 super chat, the $5 super chat, the $5 super chat, and the $10 super chat. Kevin, you're the man. Thank you so much for supporting us always. You really keep the show going. But yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of content, tons of free content. And we'll be back tomorrow with Tom. A bit of a different show. We get into some odd topics, and also we don't necessarily cover every game. We concentrate more on the games we like, and we go out of order that way. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun. But Evan, always love doing the show with you, and same as Andy on Wednesdays. Love having you guys on. So any final thoughts before we head out?
Nope. Vikings by a lot. We're home free in the Circa. Andy, thank you very much for submitting my pick on time. Appreciate that. Hopefully, 300 people or fewer have the Patriots, and maybe the Panthers will knock some people out. 1,000 people exactly. I'd like to come back next week with under 700 remaining.
That would be nice. At what point are you selling parts of your entry?
Not anytime soon.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah. So hopefully I get to pick 5 winners because I forgot the Patriots. So let's see what I could come up with. But all right, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, around 10:30 to 11 p.m. Talking about all the injury updates, line moves, etc. with Tom. And then, like I said, it's a different show. So and then otherwise we'll be back next week. But have a great night, guys, and I'll